Welcome to the Tuesday review. I'm Nathan.
I'm James.
And I'm Callum.
And tonight we're also joined by our very special guest, Damien. How you going, Damien?
Good.
Making his debut on the Tuesday review. He was on Man vs. Movies a couple of times back in the day. 3 times? No, twice. Venom and Infinity War?
I think that actually
Something,
was,
yeah.
It was, twice.
One of the,
Come to
yeah.
think of it, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so listeners who we only have 2 of will probably remember you.
And silent listeners.
Yeah, no, there are people, out there. So tonight we're going to start with we're gonna do it a little bit differently from now on. Instead, we used to do news and updates and trailer reactions and the start of the show, and then do our main feature. Now we're just gonna flip it. So from now on, we'll do the main feature review and do that for as long as we want or feel like it.
I think it's more of an issue of we never really know how long we need for our feature review, and that's the most important part.
Exactly. So if we end up doing the 2 hours on the feature, so be it. If we end up only doing a short time, then we can talk about other stuff afterwards. After the feature review, we'll go for as long as we feel like we need to, and then after that, we'll talk about, what else we've been watching, what trailers have come out and stuff like that.
Sounds good.
And if worse comes to worse and we do an hour and 55 minutes on the feature and then just 5-minute wrap up, we can always do a recommendations or...
Yeah, definitely.
What else, just a quick kind of wrap up there. So tonight we're talking about Pokemon Detective Pikachu.
Which you almost had to be dragged kicking and screaming to watch.
Not kicking and screaming, because...
I don't know, there was some kicking and screaming.
No, there was.
Some crying in the bathroom.
Some banging on the toilet door. Come on, James, the movie's about to start.
Remember the bit in Rocket Man where he goes into the bathroom and he's they're knocking on the door?
Oh, yeah.
So good. Anyway... I saw that again, actually, Rocket Man. I took my mum to see it.
Did she like it?
Yeah. She loved it. Yeah. It's really,
Still
really
holds
good.
up?
Yeah, no, it's really... Taron Egerton is just really, really good.
He's out of this world.
So what was I saying? Yeah, Detective Pikachu. So Callum and Nathan went with Alum and Jake to see it. I was not against seeing it. I just wasn't curious. I was curious, but not curious enough to see it. And both Callum and Nathan said they really liked it. Then Damien saw it as well and said, I think you'd really like it, you should go see it. And I was like, maybe I will, maybe I won't. I'll probably just wait for Netflix or whatever. So yeah, eventually, I guess we had this...
He caved into peer pressure.
Yeah. But I did want to see it, I just wasn't
just didn't want to pay for it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Guess what I got today?
What's that?
A free ticket.
Again!
No, me too. We'll talk about it on the
Oh,
break.
you got one? Oh, this conspiracy theory.
We'll talk about it on the break.
We have to talk about it another time. So, if you listen back to episode 19 of the Tuesday review, where we talked about Extremely Wicked, Nathan gave his kind of spoiler-free thoughts of Detective Pikachu, but I hadn't seen it at that time. So now that everyone here's seen it, we'll do a full review. Should we start off with non-spoilers? Just a little
spoilers.
Just a couple of things.
So
it's a good movie. Go see it.
So it's set in a futuristic version of the Pokemon universe.
Yeah,
It's supposed to be London, basically.
Sort of, yeah. It's like a Pokemon universe version of London.
Kind of futuristic-y feel.
Yeah, it's...
Pretty cyberpunk, actually.
Yeah, actually, I was going to say that it's kind of Blade Runner-y. It's kind of neon.
It does feel like what Pokemon would be if it was set either now or in 10 years' time.
Yeah, but you could definitely do a Pokemon movie set in Pallet Town or whatever, where it's just simple buildings.
It's London through the eyes of Japan.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a futuristic London that's also kind of cyberpunk, futury, Japanese, neon Tokyo.
Yeah.
Black Rain. And then on top of that, then it's also in the Pokemon universe, so it's kind of like an alternate version of...
It sounds ridiculous. It's still really awesome.
The movie looks pretty cool.
A couple of dodgy CG moments.
Yeah.
But you're going to get that in pretty much every movie that relies on CG so heavily.
But pretty much, we should say it's based on the Detective Pikachu video game,
Which I never played.
Well, neither did I.
Apparently, it's coming to Switch though as well. So if you're happy to wait,
like the original's coming, or is there a sequel?
Apparently it's unclear, but apparently it's the original with like maybe like an epilogue.
Okay, that's interesting. So yeah, might give it a go. But yeah, it's based on but Pokemon as a whole is like its own.
It's basically
beast.
its own genre now. It's
Pretty
like a
much,
genre.
yeah, pretty much. So it started as a Game Boy game.
Yep.
And then they capitalized on that with an anime and a card game.
And arguably, the anime is probably the most popular
Pretty much.
version
I'd say
of-
the-
at least at a
probably
point in
the
time,
most
it was the most
Yeah,
popular iteration of the franchise.
I don't know if this is accurate, but it almost became like the card game became more famous than the video game, and the anime became more famous than the video game, and the card game became more famous than the anime.
I'd agree with that,
You know?
because it was everywhere in the.
Yeah.
I think especially when we were kids.
Yeah,
the
like,
Pokemon card
everyone
game,
had
like
Pokemon
the 90s,
cards.
early 2000s, everywhere.
I'd say I would argue that the card game and the anime were probably pretty equal.
I would agree with Damien.
Yeah,
I think
fair
there
enough.
is.
I reckon I remember watching the cartoon as a kid. Just waking up in the morning. I never really got into the cards.
Oh, really?
I had cards.
You didn't
I
buy
just
the
care
dodgy
that
ones
much.
from like those corner
The
shops?
$2 shop.
I reckon I might have had a few lying around, but I never really got into them. Yeah.
The Ponkachu, the fake cards.
But so, how many people? I don't think many people used original cards. Like they were too expensive. When
Yeah.
you can just go to like
if you were
a
lucky-
reject shop and
yeah.
get like a big pack with like $10.
If you were lucky, your parents every once in a while would buy you a starter pack, and then
pack.
a booster pack, and then to fill out your
Supplement
deck,
it
you'd
with
have
the
to
dodgy
supplement it.
cards.
Yeah. But I think, like with most cartoons, just in general, they're made to sell toys, or in this case, they're made to sell the cards.
Yeah.
yeah,
or
like the
video game.
Transformers kind
Yeah.
of thing.
Yeah. So like the anime, well, it was pretty good actually.
It was just a vehicle.
But it was more of a way to
Yeah.
advertise the card game and stuff.
in the video games.
In the VR, yeah. But yeah, so Pokemon was the biggest thing in the 90s and still is pretty much.
Yeah, I think it was Pokemon and Dragon Ball Z. They would just fight it out.
Yeah.
The dominance of the 90s.
But yeah, I think Pokemon's even more.
Oh, worldwide, yeah, definitely.
especially in Japan.
Yeah. So
What, you mean people in Japan know about Pokemon as well?
what?
What?
Maybe not to the extent that they do here.
Is it like a Cowboy Bebop situation where it's like actually in the West it's more
People
popular?
don't really, they think it's a bit too much.
In Japan, they're just like, what is this?
It's like a Digimon ripoff
Yeah.
in Japan. They're like, they don't like it.
Yeah, this is for weebs. We don't. we're serious. Like, but anyway, my point is that like because it's such a huge franchise and so well known, and it's been popular throughout maybe at least 2 generations, maybe even 3 at this point.
Yeah.
Since the 90s, like different fans, like kids now know of Pokemon just as much as kids in the 90s did.
And the experiences will be slightly different as well.
True.
Like our experiences about Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow.
Yeah.
Like the kids now are like, oh, I'm going to get the Switch version, which looks
Exactly.
like our one was like what 16-bit.
Yeah, little
Or whatever. And it's
little
like,
black and white.
The
Yeah.
fidelity is so high now. Did you see the trailer for the new one?
Yeah, Sword
It's
and
like
Shield.
it's like an anime game.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's amazing.
Yeah, so
Not-
it's
yeah, not-
come a long way.
Not to mention, like, there was, 150 Pokemon in the
I know.
original
Oh, yeah.
versions,
I was
and there's,
actually
like,
Still the best. We'll talk about that later. Still the best Pokemon are the first 150.
Yeah, no, I actually argued with Callum and Jake about this. I'm like, there's too many. I don't want to
Yeah.
catch all those ones. I
And
just want to
they
catch
start-
the originals.
They start to get repetitive, and it's just like a
And
monkey and
there
a
was- yeah,
panda.
exactly.
And it's like no,
there was like a Pokemon that's literally a garbage bag. I'm like, just no, just like that's enough.
Oh yeah, like that was back when it was actually possible to catch them all.
yeah,
exactly.
yeah, exactly. But because it's such a multi-generational, worldwide phenomenon and franchise, just because this movie is based on the loosely based on the Detective Pikachu video game, I'm not sure if it's 100% accurate to call it a video game movie.
Yeah. No, see, I agree. Pokemon is like, its influence on pop culture is massive across
Yeah.
the board.
And
So it might have the
Yeah.
branding of Detective Pikachu.
yeah.
That's
And
that's
it has,
about
I think it has
It shares a
the
rough
general
story with the
premise.
game.
Yeah.
The general
Yeah.
premise is the same, but other than that,
Yeah.
So even though people have been saying this breaks the video game to movie curse, and it's
That was
the best video
broken
game movie.
in the early 90s. with
Well,
Mario.
as we all know, if you've
That's
listened,
right.
if you've listened to our show before, the Super Mario Brothers movie still the best.
That's right.
arguably,
Damien's shaking his head. Damien, have you seen it?
Damien, I've got it on
You mean the one with dinosaur Bowser?
Yeah,
Damien, I've got it on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
We'll watch
Yeah,
it.
no,
You're going to lose this argument. Man. In
that's
this
right.
studio,
You're in
not
the wrong
gonna-
studio.
Yeah, you're in the wrong studio. Speaking of cyberpunk, weird, futuristic video game, that's another good
Damien,
example.
do you know they built the city for that movie?
Yeah.
All right, that's all practical, man.
The guy who did Blade Runner also did, who made the city.
Yeah. Anyway, we're going off.
We're getting off topic. Anyway.
I have an open mind. I'm prepared to change my mind if you can convince me.
Well, yeah, you dragged me to Pokemon, I'll drag you to
Mario Brothers.
But yeah, so I mean, if you call this a video game movie, that's fair enough. It's probably the best video game movie, arguably. But yeah, I don't know if it's because there's so much world building and characters and stuff that comes from outside. That comes a lot from the anime. And
Traditionally, a video game movie is like the Hitman movie, right? It's like something that doesn't have so much of an influence. It's like just a video game property that they turn into a movie, and generally they're terrible.
a lot of stuff that people know about Pokemon is probably from the anime anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I would say that's true.
yeah, so it's based on the Detective Pikachu video game, which is about a Pikachu with a little Sherlock Holmes deerstalker hat who teams up with a human to solve crimes. And the movie version takes that general premise and then like mixes it with some other Pokemon lore and stuff, and is about a young man named Tim Goodman, whose father was a detective who goes missing.
Yes,
And he's suspected to be killed.
Yeah, so there's a crash, but there was no body or something like that, and so the mystery is what happened to the father.
Yeah. So
And together with the Pikachu he finds,
Tim.
they have to kind of solve that mystery.
Tim's like looking for his father and teams up with his father's Pikachu,
Yep.
Voiced by Ryan Reynolds.
voiced by
who's
Ryan
amazing.
Reynolds, who only Tim's the only one who can hear the Pikachu's voice, because in the Pokemon world, as everyone knows, the Pokemons can only say their own name.
Except in the
Well,
latest official Pokemon movie, Pikachu does actually speak English, and it ruined it for lots of people. So that's in my head. That's not canon. That's like
in
off
the
to
new
side.
animated movie.
Yeah,
Why did they do that?
because they're idiots.
Yeah.
Like anyway, that's just a point. Technically, Pikachu can speak English.
I was actually going to say,
Yeah.
well, are the Pokemon named after the only thing they can say, or can they only say their name?
Oh, that's a good point. Maybe, maybe once you
And
find...
can Ditto say all the words?
No, Ditto can only say Ditto.
Okay.
Yeah, because when he can transform into other Pokemon, but he can't mimic their...
No,
Voice.
he can only say Ditto.
Yeah.
Very good.
So technically, Pokemon ruined that idea. They ruined it for lots of people.
Yeah. Well, there is Meowth who
Actually, that's a
can...
good point.
But he's like a...
Meowth is a special case, because there are other Meowths that can only say Meow.
Exactly. He's like the one special. But in this universe of the Detective Pikachu, the game and the movie...
Yeah, he's the only Pokemon who
he
can
talk, but
communicate.
Tim's the only one who can understand
Yeah.
him. Whereas Meowth, other people can understand him, I think, because he can
Yes.
actually speak.
Yes.
Has
Because he
Mewtwo
can talk to two people.
Yeah.
has Mewtwo always been able to talk in all the properties?
Mewtwo in the anime original like movie,
Yeah,
he uses
it's
telepathy to
yeah.
like talk to people. But in the Detective Pikachu movie they were talking about, he actually seems to
No,
speak.
he was using telepathy as well.
Yeah,
But only after a certain point. Actually, we won't spoil that now. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was using telepathy as well. But yeah, so yeah, only Tim can understand this Pikachu, who's voiced by Ryan Reynolds, and together they have to team up to find out what happened to Tim's dad and all the conspiracy theories that are going on in Rhyme City, which is like this futuristic cyberpunk London where all the Pokemon coexist alongside humans.
yeah, and you can't fight.
Whereas as everyone knows, in the Pokemon universe, you catch wild Pokemon, you
It's-
train them, and then you
Keep 'em in the
battle.
balls.
And then you battle other trainers with your Pokemon. But in this city, they kind of coexist,
And you're allowed to have your Pokemon outside their Pokeballs.
Yeah.
Which is like
Peter-
which I think you're allowed to in
But
other
it's more-
places.
it's a lot
but
more
it's
common to have them
in
outside.
this, they like work
Yeah.
and they live and work alongside humans.
I think Peter would consider Pokemon problematic.
Peter, they consider everything problematic. They're problematic. They just don't know it. But so
there's no fighting in Grime City. Or Rhyme
no
Pokemon battles.
battles,
no official Pokemon battles in Rhyme City.
Yeah, there are underground sort of.
I think we are sort of straying a little bit into spoilers, though.
Yeah, all right. So we'll talk about that later. But yeah, so the movie, like I said, I was curious, but not curious enough to go out and see it. The trailer, I was kind of like on the fence about.
He needed 3 of his close friends to tell him to go see it.
No, look. As soon as I saw the city, I'm like, I'm there.
Yeah, and I need an off week on the show to put something in. But I didn't not want to see it. I just wasn't 100% convinced. I thought the movie was good.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I think I enjoyed it less than you three, but
look, for me, it was just a pleasant entertainment film.
Yeah,
I didn't have to think too hard. The story was...
Yeah,
story is an amalgamation, as you said. It's an amalgamation of all different Pokemon properties.
Yeah.
But it's simple because a big demographic of this film will be children.
Yeah, it's
for adults as well. There's lots of adult comedy in it.
Yeah.
And as people who've grown up with Pokemon, it is kind of aimed at us because, let's be honest, I might not play the games, but we're never going to be fully over Pokemon.
Yeah. It's that for our generation, it's like just something you grew up with, even if you didn't play it.
Yeah, it was everywhere.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed it for this. The story was simple, but I liked the visuals. Some of the Pokemon I thought were very stylish. I enjoyed the designs.
Yes.
I loved it. Even though we didn't get to see too much, I loved the Jigglypuff design.
Oh, really? I didn't like the Jigglypuff.
Like, nah, man. Just like, yes. I'm all about that angry Jigglypuff aesthetic.
I think they're put in a hard place because how do you make Pokemon look realistic?
Yeah.
Without considering the fact that most of them probably do have fur.
Yeah, they actually. I remember I saw an article about that. They actually had a lot of debate of the sort of the textures of different Pokemon.
Mr.
So
Mime specifically.
I think actually that
God.
was a main focal point of
Nightmare Fuel.
Yeah,
I liked it.
No, I think that their design of Mr. Mime was the
It's
best
authentic.
they could have gotten.
Yeah.
I think it was the best they could have gotten without.
Yeah. Look, translating Pokemon from like 2D video game pixel graphics or like a 2D animation to photorealistic CGI. That was always difficult. I think for them, like 80-90%,
They pulled it
They
off.
did a good job.
The Bulbasaurs looked really good.
Bulbasaurs look great, yeah.
I was really
and I think
happy with
Pikachu looks really good too.
Yeah, I love the fur. Like, he's like so...
Yeah.
And people talk about this, they're like, he's
got-
based
yeah.
on a rat. He was always going to be furry.
Yeah.
Just because you don't see fur
People
in the
are like,
games.
Pikachu doesn't have fur. I'm like, yes, he has fur. He's a little mouse. Like,
Like 90% of the Pokemon have a bit of fur somewhere.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna need to calm down about it because think about it for a second.
yeah.
But except for obviously the like the really aquatic
scaly,
ones.
yeah,
scaly
the rock
ones. Yeah.
ones.
Oh,
yeah.
can I say, one of the things I loved was seeing the Bulbasaurs working with like one of the cleaning crews.
Yeah.
Like, of course they
no,
would.
and the Squirtle firefighter.
Yeah, I love that. See,
That was great.
That's what I love so much. Is like, of course, there are certain Pokemons who'd be like,
Yeah.
I want to fight fires.
Yeah.
Squirtle.
And the what do you call them? The beatboxing Pokemon.
Oh yeah, that was hilarious.
That was awesome.
Oh man,
I just
You
love
guys
the
remember? You guys remember?
We'll
I know
talk,
what you're
we'll
talking
talk
about.
about that scene later.
I just
We'll
love
talk
the
about that
idea of
scene later.
Pokemon working in a functioning city. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like dogs with jobs.
Yeah.
It's like that. I get so excited.
People should someone should make like a Instagram
Pokemon with
account like
jobs.
Pokemon with jobs. But yeah, because like I think most of the CGI is pretty good. There's some wobbly bits as with most of these movies. Because of the Pokemon being like 100% CGI, there's a lot of CGI, which I'm never a fan of. But I think mostly it's pretty good.
I mean, you have to see, if you're going to see this film, you have to go in with the understanding that most of it's green screen.
Yeah.
But there are some that were practical. Like apparently, a Lickitung's tongue was an actual prop they had.
But that was probably just for the close-up.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
when you
exactly.
see the Lickitung, he's
Apparently it was disgusting.
CGI.
Yeah.
Apparently it was like
the-
a giant latex tongue, but they actually
Covered it in
they
goo.
slobbed
They
it up
coated
in
it with goo, yeah.
Yeah, so when it's licking his face, it's like you can see it running down his face. It's disgusting. So the CGI is pretty good, especially for me who doesn't like CGI. The designs of most of the Pokemon are good.
Yeah.
A few of them I didn't really like. But overall,
There's so many though. I mean,
it's very, like I said, it's very hard to translate to sort of
Yeah,
photorealistic.
they did that. You can definitely tell that they actually tried their hardest
Yeah.
on getting it right.
Yeah.
Sonic much?
Unlike other properties.
Look, at least with Sonic, though,
Sonic's cursed though.
At least with Sonic, they sort of came out and they said, yes, it's not good enough, we're going to try and
but
fix it.
that doesn't
Instead of just being like, you're wrong, audience.
the movie's
that
still
doesn't
gonna be
excuse
bad.
them releasing the trailer
Yeah,
like that.
that's
Yeah.
true. Yeah, that's like that doesn't excuse how bad they screwed it up the
No,
first
but
time.
it means we still might get a decent product at the end of it
Yeah.
instead of the studio doubling
the
down.
Sonic might look okay, but the movie will still be
Yeah,
bad.
that's-
I don't know, man. Jim Carrey might carry it as a future B movie.
It might be fun to watch for Jim Carrey, but the movie itself looks like hot trash.
I feel like Jim Carrey may be the thing that actually stops this movie from being so bad it's good territory.
You think?
No.
Oh, because he elevates it.
Because he elevates it. So,
That's true.
Like,
Also, that could
without,
also be
because
true.
without him, it may have been
Just
so bad it's good. But with him, he might elevate it to a point where it's just above that area,
That's funny.
Yeah.
where it's painful to watch.
But yeah, the movie looks good. Like cinematography is cool. The sets, and the like Nathan said when we were talking about it on the other episode, how there's kind of that steamy New York kind of
It's almost
smoky
a noir vibe.
noir. Yeah, there's a lot of shadows, and
Yeah.
they're definitely going for a detective movie vibe.
Which fits well with the detective theme.
Yeah.
And there's some hard-boiled sort of jokes, which I like.
And there's some and yeah, I think overall it's like a fun kind of. Obviously, it's aimed at kids, but yeah, like there's some adult-oriented.
There's
jokes.
adult humor like everywhere. It's
Well,
like
according to Ryan
and-
Reynolds, there's enough of his
Well,
outtakes to make an adult-orientated film,
Which-
like an adult film.
I know we'll never ever see that,
Not the Pokemon company would
but
allow
it's
that.
like I would like that to see that one.
Okay,
day.
so we need to go
But-
to Ryan Reynolds' house, steal his laptops, and find out for
yes,
ourselves.
find the bootleg version. But it's aimed at kids, but yeah, there's some of that adult humor, but mostly it's just a fun adventure. It's pretty simple, like Callum said, but that's not a bad thing.
no, it works
And-
for the film.
As I was talking with Damien,
I think fun is the best word to
Yeah.
describe the film.
it's just a fun adventure kind
I
of.
wasn't bored. Like I
No.
feel like every scene had something that
Yeah,
kept me
it moves
engaged.
pretty quickly. Yeah,
Like even some of the more boring scenes, there'd be like a Pokemon that just looked really cool. I'd be like, ooh,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like even if it's not exciting, kind of like I'm standing out of my seat, being like, oh my god.
yeah.
I think there's enough there. The momentum is good enough that it keeps you engaged because there's also some of the scenes just look different. Like it doesn't all look the same. Like it's not one of those movies where it's
Yeah.
just brown the whole time. You
Yeah,
know what
yeah.
I mean?
Yeah,
doesn't- it doesn't
it's
have that
pretty
problem.
colourful. Yeah, yeah.
Like so you're kind of engaged through the various cinematography,
yeah,
varied cinematography, I should say.
and like one of the things I had like before seeing the movie, I was like, because this is obviously going to be the start of their Pokemon cinematic universe.
Yeah.
So I was like, if you're going to try and start a cinematic universe, why do it with Detective Pikachu? I was like, why not just make a movie based on the first season of the anime, or like make it about the battles, like make a Pokemon Stadium kind of movie.
Like a Rocky movie.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, because then that way you set up the universe, you set up the rules, you set up the battling and the catching and that and the training, and then you go from there, and then you can do the Detective Pikachu. But as I was talking with Damien, like, because like we said earlier, there's that multi-generational worldwide knowledge of Pokemon in the pop culture, that even if people haven't played it or know much about it, they know of it.
There's that implied knowledge. They can
exactly.
skip over a little bit of it.
So when you're watching Detective Pikachu, the movie, it's just kind of like they give you enough outline of how this world works, but other than that, they don't really explain. There's no exposition-y, like long exposition.
Yeah.
Like,
There's no video saying this is what a Pokemon is.
yeah. There's just the video that explains about why Rhyme City is different from other cities and the battles, and that's it. And then Tim tries to catch a Pokemon and fails, and that's about as much explanation as you get.
So, like, this sort of sequence we get explaining this is sort of like, since, I guess, basically since tribal sort of caveman times, man and Pokemon lived together. I want to see that movie.
I
want to see,
Pokemon
Like
Origins.
a Pixar movie.
We'll
Yeah,
talk. Yeah.
I want to see a movie where it's like tribal cavemen people living alongside Pokemon, like a survival movie.
Like medieval,
like
a
they-
medieval
like,
war
you
movie.
can't
with
catch these
Pokemon.
Pokemon.
It starts-
You can't even build a house.
It starts with the wild Pokemon just running amok until they one kid befriends a wild Pokemon, trains him, and uses his powers for good, and then they all it's like How to Train Your Dragon. It's just How to Train Your Dragon,
or a medieval war movie with Pokemon. Maybe the myths of dragons come from Charizards.
Oh man,
you know what I mean? Think of the
every
fertile ground.
Every week,
Call us.
Whoever, I think Warner Brothers did this movie, send us a check. we got the ideas. But yeah, because there's an implied knowledge, and because most people know, like I was saying to Damien, like my dad doesn't know anything about Pokemon. He's never played the game, never doesn't know anything about it. But because he bought me the cards when I was little, and he's seen me playing the game in past or watching the anime, and because it's such a well-known thing, he could probably watch this movie and just understand.
Yeah,
you know, with
he
what
gets
the
gist.
Yeah. So like personally, like I would have liked like 2 more minutes of world building, but
it is
overall,
a kids' film. I mean,
that's true. But overall, like it just kind of like here's kind of what you need to know. Otherwise, everyone knows what Pokemon is. Now here's the detective story, which isn't a bad thing.
Yeah, it's
like it doesn't hold your hand or.
So I would say this movie is primarily a Pokemon movie for Pokemon fans, including children. Like I said, there is adult comedy for the adults who are taking their kids to watch the movie, or you know, for people of our age who are there for both reasons.
Some innuendo,
you know, like the Seinfeld references and so on. But like I think that like if you're a parent taking your kid to see this film, you probably don't care too much.
True. Yeah, but I mean, like for adult fans like us, like
we already know though.
Exactly. I guess there's already a knowledge.
So the exposition's probably more for the parents than the kids.
No, but yeah, like because when you're making the first movie in your cinematic franchise, like you kind of have to introduce things and explain things. But yeah, they just do the minimum, and then they're just like, everyone knows Pokemon. Just here's the rest of the movie now. So it's not a bad thing. It's just kind of that's the way they deal with it. Which I thought, you know, before seeing the movie, I was like, what I like about Pokemon is the collecting aspect of it. Like, here are the 150 Pokemon. You know, you got to catch them all. Here are the individual specs. Now train it. Now battle it. You know, that's kind of the fun thing. So making a Detective Pikachu, I was like, well, you're kind of going on your spin-off before you've done your main line franchise. But the movie, I think, does a good job. And like I said, everyone knows Pokemon already. That, you know, the movie is fine.
Are they planning to do more movies?
Oh, yeah.
Like live action?
Oh, I can't see why not.
100%.
Especially because I'm pretty sure this movie's doing really well.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. How, like, did it do well enough for the box office?
I'm not 100% sure, but I think it did pretty well. So I can't see why they wouldn't do another. At
least a sequel to Detective Pikachu, I think.
Exactly,
but I don't know about other, because the problem with doing like a main entry, in quotation marks, Pokemon movie is there's already so much of that in terms of the anime, the games.
That's the thing, is like I wouldn't want them to remake the anime movie.
You're just retreading stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what makes that's why Detective Pikachu is probably what they went with, because it's not really everywhere yet.
It's because no one's seen it before, or not many people, not as many people.
Not as many people have played.
Yeah,
Detective
so it's kind of accessible enough.
There's no Detective Pikachu card game or anime. There were like one. I think there's one. I don't think it's even a series.
It's just the one game.
Couple of games.
They're making. Apparently, they're going to make a sequel at some point.
So it's not like
it's just one game.
Yeah, so it's not like a huge thing that we've seen all before. Yeah, you're right.
So I'm hoping if they do continue with the PCU, Pokemon Cinematic Universe,
PC. Warner Brothers, send us a check.
I'm hoping
we're doing all the work here.
I'm hoping that they do kind of do these. I don't want to use the word spin-off, but I'm hoping they do these more unusual kind of event movies.
Independent movies. Like
I want a
standalone
Pokemon Snap movie.
Like a safari movie?
Safari photography. Yeah, but like then he
is it like a murder or something?
Yeah, like then he has
with the photos.
It has to be like
they capture a murder in the photo.
Yeah, no, it has to be like that. What's that movie where like he's like photographing the Colombian drug lords or whatever? Like he's like a CIA photographer. Like it's like a guy who goes on safari to capture Pokemon, but in the background he gets some guys doing some shifty stuff, which could actually lead into a Detective Pikachu sequel.
Honestly, I would look. My idea for a Detective Pikachu movie is just straight up murder mystery.
Yeah, I mean, I know they want to stay away from the murder stuff.
I know, but like that's like, wouldn't you love that though? Like. There's a serial killer. Only Ryan Reynolds as Pikachu can solve the crime. Oh, I know, you know.
Speaking of Ryan Reynolds, I guess we should say that when the movie was announced and the trailer came out, whatever, it's like Ryan Reynolds is fine. He's funny. Everyone loves him now. He's like he's hot right now. But you know, everyone wanted Danny DeVito.
Yeah.
Which is what we should have got.
Which is what we should have got. And technically, you can still do it because all you have to do is dub the voice. Like, all the animations are done. The movie can stay the same.
Yeah, just keep it as like an extra in the Blu-ray version.
Yeah, exactly. But see, like, one of the things, because I've never played Detective Pikachu, and I know in the game he speaks with a normal voice or a sort of
it's a bit
slightly
deep.
deeper voice, yeah. But, like, in the video game, I know he speaks and Tim can hear him, or whatever the kid's name is in the game, and then they solve crimes together. But I always thought it would be funnier if, keeping in line with the Pokemon universe, Pikachu can only say his name, but he's this really good detective. And then you've got his, like, if he's Sherlock, then you've got his human companion who's like Watson, who can understand everything he's saying, but the audience never hears it. All they hear is Pika Pika.
Yeah.
So I thought it would be great, like, as having a whole, like, detective movie where Pikachu...
Like a Mr. Ed kind of thing. It's like, what did you say, Mr. Ed?
Yeah, exactly. So Pikachu is this brilliant detective who goes on these long expository dumps like Sherlock does, explaining all the, the evidence that he's collected.
And Tim would be like, I can't believe you just told
exactly.
me that.
But he's going, Pikachu, and then Tim's just like,
I feel like
you're right, Pikachu.
I feel like a lot of that will be lost on the audience.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I feel like that would come across very childish.
Really, I thought that would be the funniest, most genius way to do it. But it'd be the most probably alienating, especially for kids.
What would be a good way to do that is if he did, like Pikachu did that big exposition dump to someone else, and that guy was just like, what?
You got to do it to...
See...
Oh... You got to do it to the audience, like a classic crime movie. So Pikachu will work out a clue.
Yeah.
He will turn to the audience and go, "I can't believe he killed them." And then it goes back to the movie, and he's like, "Pika Pika." Like, do you know what I mean?
that
Like,
could do
like
that.
he addresses the fourth wall breaking to the audience.
Yeah.
And then in the universe, he can only say Pika Pika.
Yeah. But one thing I will say is, even though they don't do that in the movie, I think there could have been like 2 more scenes where you see Pikachu from someone who's not Tim's perspective.
Yeah.
Because there's only like one short bit where he goes Pika Pika and someone goes, "Oh, isn't that cute, Pikachu?"
Is that like they're in a street market sort of thing? Yeah.
And Tim's like, "Can you hear him?" And then you hear what the lady is hearing, which is just Pika Pika. And then it just goes, and the rest of the movie is
It'd also
Ryan
be a
Reynolds'
good
voice.
comedic moment as
Exactly.
well.
I think it's happened in other movies where someone can hear someone's voice, but not other people. Where you switch to the other person's POV, and all you're getting is Pikachu, and Tim's going, "Yes, I know." And then Pikachu, and Tim's like, "I know, stop saying that." But you don't get that moment in the movie. That would be. It's a kind of.
It'd also be good for innuendo as well.
Exactly.
Because you don't know what Pikachu's saying.
Like
kind of
like someone slaps Pikachu.
It's kind of like an R2D2 and C3PO thing as well, where it's just like, "Oh, you ingrate,
How dare you say that about Master Luke?"
There should have been at least a couple of moments like that, because even though it's obvious, they don't do it in the movie at all, and I think they should have.
No. Fun fact though, that part of the video of the movie where he was saying Pika Pika, that was actually voiced by
the same
voice actor as the anime.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like that voice is so iconic and ingrained into my memory of Pokemon. And
question is, was he probably voice acted all the Pikas? Or did they just reuse? Or did they just reuse sounds from?
No, so they got her in again.
Really?
I'm surprised at that. I thought the studio would just be like, "Why pay someone when we can just?"
She said it so much they can just rip it out of the anime.
So I think they got her in again so they could get it was a high definition soundbite, because I think
that
stuff from the older stuff was old.
Yeah, that makes sense.
How long was the recording session? About 30 seconds?
Probably. And she probably got
to do it in a few different tones.
She's a pro. She just did it once. But no, knowing them, they would have been like, "Do it again, do it again, do it again." But I think...
Was it a situation like where Vin Diesel knows what Groot is saying? So
that's another thing. Like, in my idea of him just saying Pika Pika Pika, like, have a script for the actress who would be the same from the anime, because to change the voice would be sacrilege.
The meaning behind the Pika.
Yeah, and it's just the meaning behind it. So she's reading the lines of, like, here is the evidence,
like
Tim.
The right inflections.
And then exactly.
Because, famously, Vin Diesel had a script where he knew everything Groot was saying.
Yeah, each iron
he had the
Groot means
translation.
something.
He had a translation. Oh, that would have been interesting.
Yeah. They could have done. They could have even done the publicity stuff.
That's a good way for voice actors who have to say the same thing again and again.
Sort of contextual.
But yeah, but Ryan Reynolds is good. And it makes sense as the movie goes on, as we'll discuss later. But I think Justice Smith, who plays Tim, is actually really good.
Yeah.
I really liked him.
I liked all the performances in this film.
No, everyone's good. I think it's a pretty good movie. I would have liked, like I said, 2 minutes more of world building and maybe like 3 minutes more of just like tension building, like just a few more lingering shots of like, oh, what's going to happen? Because sometimes it can move quite quickly.
I wanted more Psyduck action.
Yeah, more Psyduck.
I loved Psyduck in this movie. He was so funny.
Yeah.
It's like
anxiety.
Keep calm. Like, but why would you have a Pokemon like that at all?
Yeah.
If it's like that's so much more stress to your life.
But Psyduck is a powerful Pokemon.
He is.
That's what I was going to say.
She spends her whole life making sure her Pokemon is relaxed.
Yeah.
So are all Psyducks as neurotic as this one? Or is he like a special case?
I think so.
I don't remember if that's the same in the cartoon.
Because I think, Psyducks, like, whenever they get a headache, they start
exhibiting their
powers. Yeah. Because I was going to say, it's funny that they make such a big deal about Psyduck's powers, and I'm like, he's almost as powerful as Mewtwo, who's the most powerful...
So the thing
Pokemon.
is, so Psyduck is, so he's more common, obviously, than Mewtwo.
Yeah.
But...
He can't control his
powers quite as well, so that's the drawback of him being more common.
And Mewtwo has like god level powers. He can do whatever he wants. So I guess like what I said, like just like a few more minutes of like world building, tension building, a little bit more character building. But otherwise, the movie's fine.
As far as
and a couple more scenes of Pikachu being just Pikachu.
And more Pika Pika, and maybe a little bit more working in some of the other Pokemon.
Yeah, I feel like the only real problem I had with the film was there was some Pokemon which I feel could have got more screen time. Yeah, like, but there was this like backward, like kind of almost cameos. It's like a Pokemon walking in the background. Of like, oh, that's a cool one.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but other than Mr. Mime and Mewtwo, there are no Pokemon who are central to the plot.
No. Not apart from Psyduck.
You could argue Charizard.
Psyduck.
Bulbasaur.
Ditto.
There's
the monkey ones, whatever they're called.
Maybe another one which won't spoil.
Kind of.
Yeah, Bulbasaur's, and none of them really use their powers a lot.
That's one thing I didn't like, was like, I feel like Pokemon are just kind of, and I mean the whole point of the city is they're just like allowed to just be chill. Yeah. But like that's why I like the scenes where they're doing jobs so much. Yeah. Because you can see like the Squirtle's cleaning the floor.
Yeah, see, I would have liked that as well. It's like at the end they could have done something where
like every
Pokemon pitches in to defeat the bad guy or something, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
That would have been better.
But I think if that's all of our complaints for a video game movie,
it's not
pretty good.
Yeah, it's not that big of a deal. And one other thing I had a little bit of problem is Detective Pikachu, because he has amnesia, which I think's in the trailer, so it's not a spoiler, but he can't remember like where
the circumstances,
how Tim's dad disappeared, because he's Tim's dad's Pokemon partner, and so him and Tim are sort of in the same boat, which is fine to make sense for the movie, but like he doesn't really do a lot of detective work. Tim does everything, and Pikachu is really the sidekick. So, see, whereas
it should have been flipped around.
Yeah, exactly. Again, I haven't played the video game, but I always assumed Detective Pikachu is the detective, and then he has a Watson human sidekick.
Well, we didn't see too much of the movie through Pikachu's eyes. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's very Tim centric.
Yeah. So the video games sort of handle it like Pikachu. Like, you solve these crimes by navigating both the Pokemon and the human world. Sort of Pikachu gets clues from the Pokemon realm. He talks to the other Pokemon, finds out what they know, and then as a human, you talk to, like, the human characters.
Well, maybe they should have worked that into the movie.
Sort of like, it's more of a duality.
So then there's a dual...
That could have also been comedic elements as well.
Exactly.
The way Pokemon interact with each other.
We could have had scenes of the same... Like, we could have had a scene where they're examining the same situation from both a Pokemon point of view and a human point of view.
You know what there should have been? There should have been a scene where Tim is interrogating someone who's connected to his father, and he's like, writing stuff down, talking to the guy, and then the camera pans down and Pikachu is talking to the Pokemon of the guy, but going Pika Pika, and his other Pokemon going whatever.
And we see the notepad and Pikachu's just writing Pika Pika.
Yeah. No, it's just writing whatever Cubone. You know, like and they could be like mimicking, like Tim could be, you know, writing on his iPad or whatever, like, you know, like writing, and Pikachu could be writing in a notepad, like doing the same actions at the same time.
Pikachu had a voice recorder, like a portable kind of recorder.
That would have been funny. He'd be like, "Look, I just interviewed this
Pika Pika," and you play it back and he just goes Pika Pika Pika.
It's a Squirtle.
Yeah,
it's like,
but
what's
of course
he saying?
he knows what Pikachu knows what's going on.
He's like, this is the key. This is the testimony that'll put the bad guy away.
Yeah.
And he plays it. And
Squirtle.
That would have been funny too if they they like bust into the police station and like here's the evidence to put away the bad guy. Puts down the tape recorder and it's like Squirtle. And all the cops are just like,
get out of
"What?
here.
Get the hell."
But all the partners are like, we've got it.
Yeah, all the other
boys!"
Pokemon are like cheering.
Yeah, so the movie could have been better, but as it is,
But their
pretty good.
nitpicky problem is
It's a fun adventure.
And half of these problems is us rewriting.
Yeah.
Send us the check.
Which we do a lot.
Yeah. But yeah, it was good. Everyone,
Yeah, I'm happy. Moving on to spoilers.
anyone want to mention anything else before spoilers?
No.
No, I think that's about it.
It was good. Yeah.
Any rewriting you want to do, Damien?
No, I'm pretty happy with the rewriting we've done already. Yeah.
I guess we'll start with the most obvious.
We'll do like this is a major spoiler warning for Pokemon Detective Pikachu. So if you haven't seen Pokemon the first movie, the original anime movie, well, spoilers for that as well, but that's not such a big deal. But yeah, if you haven't seen the Detective Pikachu, full spoiler warning.
My first major complaint was that it wasn't Danny DeVito. Because at the end, when the father is sort of revealed to be Ryan Reynolds all along, it would have been amazing for it to have been Danny DeVito. And Danny DeVito comes out and he's like, I'm your dad.
But it's like full Always Sunny Danny DeVito just wearing something ridiculous.
I'll be honest, I didn't actually expect Ryan Reynolds to be the dad.
No, I didn't see that.
Because in my mind, I always assumed Tim's father was going to be black.
Well, yeah, that's why.
Not to say that things can't happen.
I think they did that on purpose to
they definitely
throw you off.
I was just like, wait a minute.
They also made him. I'm not sure if you guys noticed as well. They made his mother from her photo. They made
black,
his mother very, very dark.
Yeah.
They made him seem to be a little bit mixed race.
He's mixed race.
Yeah, like a Shadow and Milk of Gods kind of situation.
Yeah. So I think they alluded to it in that way as well.
Yeah,
but
no,
I think
I just didn't see it coming. That's
because what they do throughout the movie is they show flashbacks to Tim's dad's disappearance,
and he's
always like lying, facing away from the camera. You never see his face, and I thought that was so that they could reveal at the end a big cameo. Like I said to Damien, who are they going to get? Like Samuel Jackson or someone? You know, like I thought, you know, a big actor was going to come because why else would they keep hiding his face? But the reason they did it was to throw you off to reveal at the end that actually Ryan Reynolds is Tim's father who is missing and his mind has been
in the Pikachu all along.
Erased from memories and put into the Pikachu.
Yeah. It worked well though. I mean, I was
that part I liked. The only thing I thought was, I don't know if I'm overthinking this, but when Bill Nye, when I saw his name in the cast, I'm like, he's going to be the bad guy. And then they do the whole like, oh no, actually his son's the bad guy. And then they're like, no, he's actually the bad guy. Which I was like, I just saw that coming. I didn't see the Ryan Reynolds thing, but that one's obvious. But at the end of the movie, so it's revealed that Bill Nye, who runs this mega corporation,
not the science guy, by the way.
No, not the science guy, the British actor,
Bill Guy, the not science guy,
not the non-science guy. He runs this big corporation and he's got some sort of degenerative disease, so he has to use a wheelchair. And his idea is something about, because Pokemon can evolve and make better versions of themselves, he wants to do that with his body. But his idea... See, this is one thing I didn't like about the ending of the movie. His idea was to transport all humans
into Pokemon bodies.
Bodies.
That's fine,
regardless of what Pokemon or what human, like...
Just do it to yourself.
Yeah,
fine.
I didn't understand.
Leave everyone else alone.
That's one thing I didn't like about the ending. It didn't make any sense in, like, what his plan was.
You mean because he was putting himself into a Mewtwo, the most powerful Pokemon in the world, and it was putting other people into, like, Digletts.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like, some poor guy's going to have to
And
be
this movie didn't have enough Digletts, man. I
was
love
really
Digletts.
disappointed.
I don't think I saw any Digletts.
Ever since
I want more Digletts.
The problem with Diglett is ever since I saw the meme, the Diglett memes.
Oh, with the hand.
No, with like the swole bodies underneath.
Oh, the swole body, yeah. But there's also one where it's like one hand.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, the swole body is canon. So that's every time I see a Diglett, I just start laughing.
I wouldn't be opposed to that. But what was I saying?
Or like a Goldeen or a Magikarp or something like that.
Yeah, who'd want to be a Magikarp? I mean, yeah, they've obviously
Gyarados, but yeah.
Yeah, at the end they make that same joke. Or in the middle, in the Charizard fight.
Yeah.
But see, here's a couple of problems I have. They don't explain Pokemon evolutions enough for people who aren't 100% familiar. Again, like we said, everyone kind of knows at this point. But I feel like and the Magikarp evolution is so quick and off-screen that you don't really understand what's going on if you're not familiar with how Pokemon evolutions work. So at the end of the movie, when Bill Nye's character... Is it Howard?
Howard, yeah, I think that was it.
Or is that his son?
I don't know. I'll look it up.
Yeah.
I saw the movie. I saw the movie a few weeks ago because I knew it was going to be awesome.
I saw the movie this afternoon, so...
Yeah.
So you should remember, James.
Bill Nye's Howard Clifford, yeah.
Okay. And who's the son?
I don't know, Nathan.
Howard Clifford's son.
Howard Clifford
Look
Jr.
it up, JB.
Yeah. But yeah, because Howard's plan is to put people's minds or bodies into Pokemon bodies so they can evolve, but they can only evolve into what Pokemon they've been stuck into that next version. So a Bulbasaur can only become an Ivysaur, can only become a...
Or whatever. So
what's the last one? God damn it, I forgot. People are yelling at me right now.
Whatever the best version of the Leafy Boys are.
Yeah, the Leafy Boy.
Roger Clifford.
Roger's the son, yeah. So, but why he wants to do that is not really clear. Like, he says...
Because he's a maniac.
Yeah, but he says, like, he wants people to be the best version of himself, but he's put his mind into the most powerful Pokemon ever.
See, like I said, the story is not... Like, you don't go into this movie...
And then again, like, having said that, this is corporate mentality. I mean, he's the mayor of the town, so he's thinking of himself.
CEO, yeah.
So he's not thinking about
he gets the Mewtwo.
So he gets Mewtwo. He doesn't care what everyone else gets.
I know he's a crazy maniac who doesn't make, but the movie could have been almost exactly the same, and all he had to do was be like, I want to put my body in Mewtwo and
rule everyone else,
rule all the Pokemon with my mind powers and take over the world.
But like I said,
and then the end could play out the same way, and instead of having the people, see, there's another thing. When Howard's transfers his
consciousness,
so he transfers his consciousness into Mewtwo, then he releases the gas which turns domesticated Pokemon into wild Pokemon, so they have no self-control, and then using that to his advantage, he uses Mewtwo's psychic abilities to transfer people's minds and bodies into their Pokemon. Yep. I think one of the reasons... I don't know, this is probably not true, but one of the reasons they might have done that is to get all the people off the streets, so when Mewtwo is smashing things, he's not putting anyone in danger. But then the Pokemon would be in danger, so that's probably just me overthinking.
Yeah, look, the story is not the strong part.
Yeah.
Is not the
I just
strong
feel like
film.
I said, they could have changed one thing and then left the ending pretty much the same. Just have all the people running from the wild Pokemon going crazy.
Look, it's a very stereotypical bad guy plot point, basically.
Yeah. You could have had the same amount of destruction just happening from all the various Pokemon attacking the city.
That's true too. That way we would have seen more powers as well. That would have been more interesting. I did really like the Ditto fight where he's fighting Howard's Ditto henchmen and it's changing into different Pokemon and different people, but it's still got the creepy Ditto eyes.
Yeah,
and
that's the best.
That was good. I like that fight.
Which actually, funnily enough, is not, generally speaking, a Ditto thing. There's actually one specific Ditto that couldn't get the eyes right.
And oh, really?
Yeah.
Wait, all Dittos don't do that?
No.
Your typical Ditto will be able
Your
to
typical
mimic
Ditto
eyes.
will be able to do the eyes.
Nah, that's not true.
That's true.
I thought all Dittos, when they transform, they still have the eyes.
It's just that one poor
I
Ditto.
thought that was a
It's
thing.
just that one.
There's one Ditto,
One
canon, one Ditto that couldn't do it.
Huh.
But it looks so cool. That
Yeah, it looks so cool
Yeah,
that
it
they
looked
started
good in
just
the
doing
movie.
that anyway. And as well as that, this Ditto. So they mentioned it in the movie that this Ditto was a genetically special Ditto.
Yeah.
So most Dittos they need to be able to. They need to look at something to copy it. So
Yeah.
they need to be able to.
Can they copy humans?
No, they can't copy
They can only
humans.
copy other Pokemon. They have to,
I'm not sure actually if they can copy humans. Like in any case, they need something. They need to be looking at what they're copying, and they need to have it in front of them when they're copying it. They can't copy something from memory. So when they try and copy something from memory, they get details wrong. They get a lot of things wrong.
Yeah.
So that this Ditto was a special Ditto.
Yeah, but
they mentioned that in the.
They mentioned that, and they also show that there's been genetic enhancements of Pokemon. So
See, we should have had Jake on the show. 'Cause he's Pokemon
encyclopedic
He's
knowledge,
like 100% at all the games.
I like- yeah.
He's like-
I suppose we should also do a quick run through of what actually happened, like the actual broad stroke story of.
Well,
of the
yeah.
movie.
So we mentioned that Tim's father goes missing or presumed dead. Tim teams up with
Tim journeys to Rhyme City to be with his father to find his
father. Teams up with Pikachu, who was his dad's
partner,
Pokemon partner, and they look.
Yeah, they basically unravel a conspiracy.
Yeah, they find out that Howard who's the CEO of this big mega corporation of Rhyme City.
He's the mayor of Rhyme City, isn't he?
No, the mayor was the other guy who was at the parade.
Okay, all right.
But he pretty much runs. They say
he pretty much runs the city.
They say he owns the politicians, he owns the police, he runs the media. Like he rules Rhyme City. Because he's in a wheelchair, he wanted to upgrade himself, so he kidnaps Mewtwo, which is the most powerful Pokemon ever in history.
From a lab, yeah.
But Mewtwo escapes, and the only way to track him down is to track down Tim's father. So he kind of tricks Tim and Pikachu into finding Tim's father, therefore leading him to Mewtwo and allowing him to take over Mewtwo's mind with his technology and turn everyone into Pokemons, and then I guess rule.
And then Pikachu, who
then what was he going to do? Rule the world? I don't know.
But Pikachu, who exhibits almost no abilities during the movie due to his amnesia, somehow defeats Mewtwo in a one-on-one battle.
Yeah, he doesn't defeat him. He distracts him.
Oh, distracts him.
But yeah, Pikachu, who sounds like Ryan Reynolds, and only Tim can hear him. That's never explained.
Yeah, something that did kind of. I'll let you finish with this.
Oh, okay. It's not explained because other people can't understand Pokemon until at the end you find out that Mewtwo, because Tim's dad and Pikachu helped Mewtwo escape from the lab the first time, he, using his psychic powers, he puts Tim's dad's mind and body into Pikachu, gives him amnesia, and then sends him to Tim to lead him back to Mewtwo a second time. And then you find out at the end that when Mewtwo takes Tim's dad out of Pikachu, that he's actually Ryan Reynolds, which is we alluded to before, which I liked. I was like, okay, that makes sense why he sounds like Ryan Reynolds now.
Yeah, still disappointed it's not Danny DeVito.
But exactly, I want Danny DeVito, but also like...
He should have appeared naked, covered in like oil, like in Always Sunny.
Yeah. He's just like crawling
we
out
actually
of Pikachu.
don't know what he looked like when he appeared. Remember, because it cut to the.
That's another thing. I think they should have, instead of doing that awkward cut, they should have shown him magicking out of with all the sparkles. There should have been this movie should have been, like I said, like 5 minutes longer, and just have like Pikachu, looking surprised Pikachu meme, and then have all the sparkles. All the sparkles coming out of Pikachu and then forming into Ryan Reynolds. And it would have been more surprising than doing that awkward cut later on in the movie. Do you know what I mean?
The only thing, Ryan Reynolds comes out and he goes, "I'm not your dad," and walks off.
Yeah.
That would be really good.
Deadpool's...
one thing I would really like is like a Mr. Mime trying to explain to a journalist what happened.
That would
At
have
the
been
end of the
funny. That
movie?
could have been a background thing, like him just explaining and the journalist trying
that
to figure
specific Mr. Mime.
Yeah, trying to
Yeah,
explain
yeah,
what
yeah,
happened
yeah.
in the city, and he's
That
like
would've
doing
been
all like the
out.
motions.
That Mr. Mime interrogation scene's pretty good, where he mimes,
with the gasoline.
mimes
Yeah.
gasoline.
You
And
mean-
I'm just
I'm
like,
sorry.
this is pretty dark.
You mean when he tortures a poor Pokemon who hasn't done anything wrong?
Well,
Like, come on, it's brutal.
That Mr. Mime was asking for it.
Like
guy
that
was an
whole scene
asshole.
was
Well,
like,
actually,
presented to you by
if
Quentin
you
Tarantino.
want to get if you want to get super dark, I don't think we saw that Mr. Mime afterwards.
Oh yeah,
Oh.
he fake burned to death.
If you want to get really
'Cause
dark,
he lights the match.
because he lights the he drops the
and
match,
then you hear the
and then it
flame
cuts,
sound
it
effect and
cuts
it cuts
off.
away.
We don't see him.
That
He
Mr.
murdered
Mime-
the Pokemon.
He murdered that. That Mr. Mime mimed burning to death. Just never
Yeah,
recovered.
but like that's the thing about Mr. Mime. How much of what he like
Well,
sort of feels and like
but that's-
mimes has an effect on
Is it real?
reality.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Tim hit his head on the wall.
he can
on the way- on the way
generate
out.
the
Yeah.
walls, invisible
So
walls.
can he generate? I guess
Fire.
fake
So
We
fire?
don't know, but that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. Like, 'cause we didn't see him after that.
That's
Yeah, I would also really like that as like at the end there, and of
So-
course an '80s montage of where they are now.
That would have been good. Yeah.
Every movie should have like a "Where Are They Now"
Yeah.
part at the end, where the
Square-
credits
yeah.
are rolling.
Squirtle evolved too.
Pikachu's now hosting the Tonight Show.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like Squirtle's now like the lieutenant of like the fire department.
Yeah.
So
damn.
something I picked up on, actually only the second time watching it. So if only Tim can understand Pikachu,
yeah.
and he can hear his voice,
Yeah.
why does he not recognize his father's voice?
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was going to
Yeah.
say.
That's
So-
one thing we did talk. Yeah,
One,
Because Ryan
that-
Reynolds shouldn't have been his
Yeah.
dad.
Now I know he's been estranged from his dad for quite a few years, but
surely
still
he
you would have
recognized his dad's voice.
you know what though? I will
Also-
say though, it's easy for us to say that,
Mm.
but you don't necessarily expect your dad's voice to come from Pikachu. And if you
True.
haven't heard your dad's voice for many years, you might just think, "Wow, that's weird similarity," but obviously it's different. This is a Pikachu. It's not my dad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that it's a bit of a flaw, but it's
Yeah.
also an explainable flaw.
Also, what's interesting.
That's true, I guess.
What's interesting, which I was talking with Damien after seeing the movie, is like, because I don't think this doesn't happen in the video game. As far as I know, in the video game, the Pikachu is just Pikachu, and Tim can understand him for some reason, and that's never really
Yeah,
explored.
because of reasons
As far as I know, the whole dad thing is just for the
film.
movie.
Yep.
But this also means that now that Ryan Reynolds is out of Pikachu's back to being normal. He can't speak, or Tim can't understand
Yeah.
him anymore. So this means if there is going to be a sequel,
It'll be self-contained.
it'll be a different story where maybe like I said, Pikachu will be Pika Pika, and Ryan Reynolds and Tim will pair up
Yeah,
to
so
be
the
a private
Pokemon's still
detective.
super smart,
Yeah.
but
It'll
So-
start with an agonizing montage of Pikachu learning how to talk.
Yeah, but then who's gonna voice? Danny DeVito can come.
Danny DeVito,
Okay,
our
so
boy.
we solved the problem. But as Damien said, it's like that's interesting because if you do a sequel, you obviously can't just reuse Ryan Reynolds again.
yeah, exactly.
So you'd have to change it up a bit. So
I think they could figure out a way. to do it.
it'll just be interesting if they're going to do a sequel. Like it'll be interesting to see how they go about it. Like
I
where
think
they,
if they're gonna do a sequel, it's gonna be something like, so you've got Detective Pikachu now. You're gonna have like
I feel like
a different Pokemon doing something else.
yeah,
Or,
I feel like
you know,
they're
you're gonna
going to
have
do
a series of
so-
these different
yeah, because
Pokemon.
the movie's called Pokemon Detective Pikachu.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming there's going to be lots of spin-offs of this cinematic universe where it's going to be Pokemon.
Chef Charmander.
Exactly. Yeah. So but if they do,
He always overcooks the steak.
Well, yeah.
well done, only well done.
No, but I think it's as simple. I think it's as simple as we talked about earlier. In that, it's possible. The Pikachu was originally a detective anyway. Like he was Tim's dad's Pikachu. But he did solve
They
crimes.
could do
Yeah.
your idea.
They could do my
of-
idea, yeah. So they could build it up and do flashbacks of before Tim came
Send
to
us a
Rhyme
check.
City. Check. Why is the check not
just-
in the mail?
We've just written the sequel, guys.
No, but like my point is like you could have the Pikachu learning things and then pointing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it doesn't necessarily
and also
have to be
now
English.
you've got the star power of Ryan Reynolds
Yeah.
physically face in your movie.
Maybe Ryan Reynolds has to do something, and he's like, "Tim, can you please Pikachu?" Maybe he goes on a holiday,
Yeah.
and Pikachu's like, "We have a problem."
At the end of the
Ryan
movie.
Reynolds hams it up, and it's a hardboiled detective story with Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, at the end of the movie, they say like, "Well, what should we do now?" And it's like, Tim, who's an insurance adjuster, is like, "Well, I was thinking of maybe going into detective work."
Yeah.
And so
He did say that at the end.
Yeah, so him and his father could open a private detective
Yes.
thing. Pikachu is still there.
Chinatown in Pokemon.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like this father-son adventure with Pikachu, but now Pikachu does what I said he does in my idea, which is just say Pika Pika,
Yeah.
and then they have to decipher his clues. And
It's like, forget about it, Tim. That's Meowth Town.
forget about it, Tim. It's Pallet Town. One thing else I want to mention is that in this movie, the Pokemon, the first movie, the animated movie from the late 90s, is technically canon, because they mentioned that scientists recreated, cloned or genetically enhanced Mewtwo from Mew, which is the ancient, most powerful Pokemon. But then he escaped the lab 20 years ago.
20 years ago
and
from
then,
the Kanto region.
Yeah, and then this movie takes place where they've recaptured Mewtwo after the events of the first movie.
Was that 20 years? Like,
That
it's
was
been 20
20
since the
years ago.
game was released?
It was 98
No, it's
is when the
20
first
the movie
movie
was
came
released.
out. So and it's 2019. So they say
20 years ago
yeah.
from the movie's release.
So it's
good.
technically canon that the first movie happened. So, you know, obviously there's probably no hard timeline canon, so you can still have Ash and Misty and
of
Brock show up maybe. But that's interesting, I thought. So that kind of ties into the whole, you kind of have to have some, you don't have to have seen the original first movie, but yeah, if you, as long as you know about the Pokemon universe, like have that knowledge. But I thought that was interesting because Mewtwo is badass, and that was cool how they kind of, I think, and like I said, the movie has to be 5 minutes longer just for a few things. Another minute or two just to beef up the Mewtwo escaping scene. Just to make it more tense, like a siren's going off, and you know him using his telekinetic powers to break things. It's too quick in the movie.
I agree. Yeah,
You know, it's better. It's better in the original anime.
We're going to have to leave it there for the live show.
Yeah.
Up next is
Car
Talk with Matty J. And we'll be right back.
And
after
if you listen to the podcast, we'll be back in 1 second.
This is only if it's the live listeners.
So Dittos can turn into people, but they can't talk.
Yeah. Okay.
So Ditto brothels are a thing.
All right.
Yeah,
We'll talk about that.
They do also. They turn into people in the anime, so it's canon.
Oh,
It's
okay.
anime
It is
canon.
canon. All right. But the eye thing, I want to see the eye thing.
No, the eye thing is that like most Dittos can do that.
Okay.
I think unless they're trying to copy something from memory.
Yeah.
But surely that would be
But
highly...
there was one Ditto
that would be
that just
highly
could never
illegal,
get that.
right?
Yeah,
Oh,
like
yeah,
nothing
yeah.
illegal happens in the Pokemon world.
Oh yeah.
No, but like
Like there's
I
not
think,
an underground crime syndicate doing shady shit.
I think there'd be laws
Trying to
governing...
steal Pikachu's.
Yeah, I know. Like seriously, you think there's no mafia boss?
Yeah.
that
You
will,
know,
like-
you think there's no steroids in Pokemon battles?
Yeah, Machamp, man. Like,
That guy's not natural.
yeah, exactly.
All right.
That's one way to evolve a Pokemon.
All right.
Hey,
Eat the candy.
Actually, that's like the candy. Would that be considered
yeah.
doping?
Yeah, of course.
Oh yeah, it is. I never even thought of that.
Yeah.
Just teaching all this stuff to our kids.
And the downer drugs that stop Pokemon evolving.
That's true.
Yeah. It's like
It's
it's like hormone blockers. Yeah.
What do they call them? The sprays?
Yeah.
All right, ready?
Yeah.
All right. So we were talking about Pokemon, and Damien had a good point just between the break there. What did you want to say about the video game adaptation?
So I was just basically saying that I do class Detective Pikachu as a game movie, just because it is as much a game movie as a movie like Silent Hill would be considered a game movie, and most people would consider the Silent Hill movie, which was a pretty bad movie.
Where would you
A game
consider
movie.
Resident Evil on that sort of spectrum?
That
Not really.
Resident Evil, that would be a
In
game
the same
movie
vein?
as well.
Yeah.
So I think
At least
that-
the first movie.
That's
yeah.
an
At least
interesting-
the first one. Yeah, the rest are all an offshoot.
But that's an interesting point, is because, like we were saying before, Pokemon, like Silent Hill, Resident Evil, they have some supplementary material, but otherwise they're just a game series.
Yeah.
Whereas Pokemon is much more than a
No,
few
but this
video
specific
games.
movie is based on a specific game.
True, but it takes into in its
It
story
takes into
and characters
consideration,
in
like,
a world.
pretty much
It
everything
takes
else.
it takes, especially with the Mewtwo stuff, like we were just talking about. Pretty sure that's almost exclusively from the anime.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's not just a video game adaptation. And to sort of go along with like the Resident Evil, it's like, yes, Resident Evil is a video game movie, but because it's not really an adaptation of any of the games, it's just kind of a general
story
is only
treading.
partially true. I think the first Resident Evil movie was it was
So Resident
based-
Evil 1 does not retell the events of the first Resident Evil game.
No.
but there was a
takes
Resident Evil
elements.
movie that was set in Umbrella City.
Yeah,
the second one.
in Umbrella City, in Raccoon City.
Yeah.
And that pretty much took very, very heavy reliance from one of the games. I'm by no means an expert.
I don't yes, they take elements from the game, but none of them are like a adaptation of the
Detective
story
Pikachu
of the game.
isn't an adaptation of the
Exactly.
game
So
either.
that's what I'm saying. Yes, it's a video game movie, but one, it's not a super accurate adaptation of the video game. And on top of that, you've got the card game and the anime and the toys and the whole world that informs this version of the story. So yes, it's a video game movie, but also it's not.
It's not zero sum.
On the same token, would you consider our favorite video game movie? Would you consider Mario Brothers a video game movie?
Yeah.
Look, it's not zero
The
sum.
story is completely different.
In the same way that like Resident Evil it's not a direct adaptation. It's just taking the name and the general idea.
It's not zero.
That's another reason why. See, this is the thing of video game movies. It's like a lot of video game movies, they either just change everything and just use the name, and no one wants that, or they try to do a direct adaptation and it doesn't work because you can't translate a video game.
I think Detective Pikachu, they struck a really good balance with that.
It's a balance, yeah.
They did.
But they also have the luxury of the anime and the card game and the world building.
That is true.
That's already set up for them.
Yeah, so I think that is true. So while it is still, I would still consider a game movie.
Yeah.
It's not maybe to the extent of.
My favorite example is Hitman, because they made one movie based on one specific game and it failed spectacularly.
Yeah.
So so Pokemon is.
Oh, then they made a sequel, like another movie, but yeah, they made a second one, but yeah.
A good counterexample is the House of the Dead movie, which has very little to do with the video game, and it's just a branding thing. It just happens to have zombies.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's a lot of adaptations. Though, just slap on the name.
So then, talking about that, guys, would you be looking forward to the Witcher series
Oh,
on
yeah.
Netflix?
Oh,
Yes.
we've talked about that
No,
before.
I know.
Yeah,
I was there for that.
Yeah,
That's very much an adaptation.
yeah.
Apparently, that's very much an
in light of this
adaptation.
conversation.
Yeah. But that's all. That's not a video. That's not
That's
based
a
on the
book
video game. That's based on
adaptation.
That
the
is
book.
no, it is, but it is.
But see,
it
in
is
the same way,
it's a series adaptation of the video game because they're using a lot of the.
But that's in the same way that Detective Pikachu is, yes, it's an adaptation of the video game, but it also has to take into account the card game and the anime and The Witcher. Yes, it's an adaptation of the books, but it probably it also has the video games for...
It's taking a lot of the visuals from the video games.
Yeah, so I guess in a way, it's kind of the same thing as Detective Pikachu, where it's like they're getting ideas from a lot of different source materials and stuff like that.
It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
I really hope so.
I mean, people have shared those sort of screenshots where it's like the Nilfgaardian armor just looks like a scrotum. But I think like a lot of that will be fixed in post.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of like behind the scenes production photos don't actually reflect what the show will look like after, you know, lighting and
So I don't think that's an
post-processing
issue
and-
yet at the moment.
No. Yeah.
If it still looks like that when we see a trailer, then we might have an issue.
Yeah, we'll see when the trailer comes out, then we'll do
We'll do a deep dive.
2-hour discussion.
If the trailer comes out.
What do you mean?
because it's a Netflix series.
No. See,
Oh, no, they wouldn't just drop
Netflix
it.
dumps a few things, and
Yeah.
they don't advertise it, but this
Yeah,
will be everywhere. This is the next fucking Stranger Things.
This is I think this will be one of their flagship shows, especially after Game of Thrones finished.
Yeah, you will
like-
see posters
Yeah.
and hangings in shopping
Yeah.
centers
Until Jeff
for The
Bezos,
Witcher on Netflix.
Until Jeff Bezos decides
Yeah,
he's
until
bored.
Lord of the Rings, yeah. Until he's like, hold my
$1 billion,
hold
we're
my
gonna-
sting or whatever, hold my faux hammer, like. But also Nathan mentioned before the Division
Yeah, the Division
movie.
The Division movie, which has been, I guess, in development hell for a while now.
For a while, yeah.
Starring Jake Gyllenhaal and Jessica Chastain. Now,
Yeah.
I'm a
Has it
big...
got Jake Gyllenhaal in it?
Yeah.
He's the main character.
Interesting.
He's the main star.
Right, okay.
Interesting casting
news to
choice
me,
for a
yeah.
video game movie.
Balls-
But no,
balls,
see,
right?
Yeah, pretty stacked cast.
I'm a massive fan. I haven't played the Division 2, but I
Yeah.
played the Division 1, and I'm a massive fan of this game franchise because it lends itself so well to cinema.
Yeah.
Because, like, the overall premise is
Also,
very simple.
yeah, like I haven't played the games, but the one thing I know and the one thing I really like about the games is the premise.
Yeah, it's such a simple premise. It's like someone in New York set off a biological plague. Linked. It was like there was like some sort of toxin on
the
ca-
money,
on the
yeah.
cash. The paper
during
money.
Black Friday, which is this
Yeah.
huge
So
sales.
basically, New York is quarantined, and no one in, no one out.
Yeah.
A few people go in because they're the division agents.
Yeah.
They're there
Or
to sort of
sleeper agents.
they're there to sort of like clean up, try and track down what happened, et cetera, et cetera. And you in the game are a division agent. You
Yeah.
go into New York, which is a lawless wasteland now.
But yeah, I think that premise lends itself to a movie more so than most video game
Definitely. It's
premises.
like-
It's very cinematic.
It's sort of like you got that post-apocalyptic feel.
Also, you don't need too much green screen to pull it off. It's just an action story.
Yeah.
So that
So,
helps as well.
One thing I think is the cast is already like, holy crap, that's pretty cool.
A Jake Gyllenhaal Netflix movie.
Yeah, two is David Leitch.
Oh, wait, we've had that already, and it
Yeah,
doesn't
oh,
work
no,
out so
that didn't work out so well. Two is the director David Leitch did co-directed the first John Wick, and I think he did Atomic Blonde, and I think he did Deadpool 2.
He's already got a pretty
So
decent resume.
yeah,
then.
so the action is undoubtedly going to be incredible, and yeah, he's already got sort of
Quite a resume.
exactly. So that's interesting. But then they announced that it's going to be on Netflix, which is an interesting development.
I'm not opposed. Like,
No, I'm not
I don't think it
opposed, but-
says anything negative about the movie.
Netflix has given us some pretty decent things.
We wouldn't have had. I'm blanking on the name at the moment. The science fiction Netflix movie
Black
with
Mirror?
the
Okja?
no, it was
that.
mostly an all female cast.
Annihilation.
Annihilation.
Yeah.
The problem though is I want to see this film with the pictures.
Yeah, see, that's the kind of downside that we've talked about
But without
before.
Netflix, we wouldn't have this movie at all.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's an interesting thing is like, yeah, like, I'm sure Netflix will pump a lot of money into it, especially with those two stars attached, and this director's getting some clout now. So, I'm sure the production side won't be lacking, and it'll be good because we can all watch it easily.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's disappointing that we can't see it on screen. If it does, quote unquote, break the video game to movie curse.
Pokemon already did that, but
Yeah, well, you know what I mean. If it does do
Yeah.
that, it'll be interesting.
I think it has a lot of, we'll say, flexibility in it because the story is so. I'm not going to say generic, but
Broad.
it's so simple and
Yeah,
broad.
it's and
It's very
if
it's very castable.
They can do,
They can cast
take,
it to whatever they want it to.
Yeah.
They want to make it.
exactly.
malleable,
They,
yeah.
they can take this movie in a number of different directions.
They
It can be
can-
a smaller character drama. It can be a giant action
If
epic. It can be almost
Yeah.
a political movie.
if they take the general premise and then drop in two characters who are not in the video games, and then don't try to copy the video games and just make
Yeah,
a good
exactly,
action
yeah.
thriller, that'll be the best way. Because if they try to, this is another thing. If they try to force in gameplay elements in the movie, like, do you remember the Tomb Raider
Doom
movie?
game?
In the Tomb Raider movie where she's like the ship is capsizing and she's like doing monkey bars on the railing
Yeah,
because. And then I'm just like, why is this? I know this happens in the game, but in the
Yeah.
movie it doesn't
I think
make sense.
The House of the Dead movie does that, I'm pretty sure. Where there's
the-
a part of the movie where it's like someone shooting on the screen.
Yeah.
You can see like the old effects from the arcade machine.
or
It's like awful.
like you said, the Doom movie where they go first person, which is arguably is the only good part of that movie.
I didn't even see the Doom. The Doom
Oh,
movie.
it's not good. Don't see it.
No, I wasn't going to.
But like you can see what I'm saying. Like because there's bits in the Division. There's like drop boxes, not drop boxes. What are those
Yeah,
called?
you can drop health packs,
supply
drop
caches.
turrets,
Yeah.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that
If they
stuff.
try to implement those things in a really awkward way,
I have
rather than just be like, okay, here's the general premise.
I don't think they have a reason to do that though.
They don't have, but that's the thing with video game adaptations and why a lot of them are so bad. is like they don't have the.
They can do some things. Like they could have like a little drone or something that maybe Jake Gyllenhaal can use to scout.
They can have like dead drops located throughout the city. That
Maybe,
they can be like, we're running out of ammo,
but if
and it's like a race against
yeah.
time to get to a dead drop kind of thing.
If it sticks out like a lot of the lot of the times
it'd have to be hidden in the urban environment.
Yeah. But yeah, I think this movie has the potential to be really good.
It does. And
so did Velvet Buzzsaw, but here we are.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah,
that has pros. No, it didn't. A lot of cons.
Mostly, yeah.
Don't watch it, Damien.
So I guess should we just talk about E3 and starting with the big kahuna, the god.
I guess we'll say first of all, if you haven't seen the Cyberpunk 2077 trailer yet, go see it.
First of all, let's keep this as a context. So last week we talked a lot about Death Stranding and the star power in Death Stranding.
Yeah. And we talked we've talked a lot about on the show, but a little bit last week about how Cyberpunk 2077...
Cyberpunk and Death Stranding are possibly the most anticipated games.
Yeah.
For the mainstream audience, I know a few of us in here have other series close to our hearts.
Yeah. And they're like the two most like kind of pushing the envelope kind of games from...
opposite ends of the spectrum, basically.
Yeah, completely opposite ends of the spectrum, completely different developers, but both developers who have... unique reputations and...
excellence.
Yeah.
So, we discussed last week how Death Stranding has Guillermo del Toro's likeness.
Yeah.
It has Mads Mikkelsen.
Norman Reedus.
And his Norman Fetus.
Little BB.
And, all these other well-known, well-respected
Troy
actors.
Baker.
Yeah.
And then, E3, it's announced that one of the major characters in Cyberpunk is none other than... Keanu goddamn Reeves.
Keanu fucking Reeves is in Cyberpunk 2077
as a major character
playing Johnny fucking Silverhand. Like it's like as if we weren't hyped enough.
Yeah, so we were talking about before the show started. We were talking about why everyone's making such a big deal out of Johnny Silverhand.
It's just first the Keanu.
Yeah, exactly.
Thing.
The fact that he's in it.
It's like Keanu is like.
He's so hot right now.
Universally loved.
He's always been hot, but all right.
Yeah,
in terms of like his popularity.
Yeah.
And although he is an attractive man.
Yeah, but like he now he's like the big thing. But he's like
I'll say earlier, he's in fashion now.
Yeah,
he's always been in fashion, man.
Yeah, but now especially he's so hot.
John
right
Wick,
now.
yeah.
But on top of that, he's just generally known as this like awesome dude.
Yeah, the nicest guy.
Yeah, who you want to work with. Then on top of that, you had the Death Stranding, like all those big stars. And then CD Projekt, who makes Cyberpunk, is just like, hold my Keanu, and it's just like, watch us. So Keanu's revealed to be in Cyberpunk 2077 as one of the main game characters,
which is
like
good,
non-player characters.
Because Keanu has always basically, been in support of good science fiction.
Yeah, and he like he said in the presentation, and he actually came out to do the presentation for the trailer,
so cool.
And he's like, I like good storytelling. And he just genuinely seemed to be happy and excited to be there and be a part of it.
Which I feel is a good sign because I mean I feel like he generally only does things that he's comfortable with doing.
Look, I'm sure he's seen the behind the scenes and he knows it's excellent.
And it's breathtaking.
Yeah.
You're breathtaking. Did you see that CD Projekt gave the guy who said "You're breathtaking" a free collector's edition of the game?
Wow.
Because you're breathtaking. But what I also like about it is that CD Projekt has this reputation for being humble, very honest, very open,
and exceptional.
They're the good guys of video games.
I was telling my dad the other week, I'm like, the thing about it is this game is important because this game company doesn't release that many games compared to its competitors. They're
quality over quantity.
They're the Scorsese of video games.
They're like they're the company that it's like they'll spend 10 years making a game, but when they release it, it's going to be fucking good.
And you're going to end up playing it for the rest of the 10 years.
This company is like one of the biggest GDP contributors of Poland.
Yeah, they're a Polish company, but it'll be the most bang for your buck.
Exactly.
Most games in Australia, $80, $90 roughly, give or take.
Yeah.
For like, a 10-hour experience roughly, and then some DLC you have to pay for later, and a lot of multiplayer crap, and CD Projekt is like you'll pay
A
$70,
premium
$80,
price.
So I actually,
but you'll get hundreds and hundreds of hours of gameplay. You'll get a detailed, dense world.
So
and on top of that, the stuff that comes with the game is the game.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about microtransactions, and they're very open and honest about
and
that.
if they're going to sell you a DLC, it's going to be a massive
it's pretty much an expansion pack.
So if we look at The Witcher 3 as a comparison, which is likely, I guess, I'm assuming they're going to put the same amount of years into Cyberpunk that they did as The
They've
Witcher
been
3.
developing it for about 7 years now.
Yeah. So if you look at The Witcher 3 right now, once it sells a certain amount of units, it'll get a Game of the Year edition, which lowers the price a little bit and bundles in DLC.
Yeah.
But we can expect maybe 2 DLCs to Cyberpunk.
But the DLCs will be like massive expansion.
Like a DLC for, I think, Witcher 3, the average length of a DLC is like 50 hours.
Yeah. So like CD Projekt is like all about, customer satisfaction.
Yeah, that's basically it.
And basically they're gamers, they understand what gamers want and they give it to us. But what I like about that is that teaming with Keanu, who seems to be this really awesome, wholesome dude, it's like a match made in heaven.
Yeah.
So it's like having him in the game, it's like it makes sense that these people are going to be working together to bring the best product to the fan.
He's arguably one of the better sort of science fiction action stars.
Yeah.
Like he's done The Matrix, he's done Johnny
Mnemonic.
Yeah.
I always struggle with that word. Like he's like he wanted to do like Cowboy Bebop for
Bill and
years,
Ted's technically a
but he got
science
too
fiction
old.
movie.
True,
I reckon.
yeah.
It's like he's interested in these types of properties.
Yeah.
Which that probably makes
So
it even more exciting.
I suppose we should also sum up what Cyberpunk is for people if they're not aware of it.
Yeah, so I don't know, you go on, Callum.
So the deal about this game is so CD Projekt with The Witcher, they based it on a series of books. Now with
The Witcher is like an open world fantasy sword
and that
game.
franchise is based on a series of books.
Yeah.
Arguably, you could say that the video games are now considered more important than the books. That's an argument people have made.
They're definitely more well known.
Yeah, exactly. So with this project CD Cyberpunk, this is not an original IP. It's based on an old pen and paper RPG like Dungeons and Dragons. And
Cyberpunk
we were talking about
2020,
which I actually didn't know until today.
Yeah, we were talking about before the show how for some reason it didn't get big over here. At least now we're talking from the perspective of millennial men who, only now are we getting into kind of pen and paper games, but we're all nerds here, so we've all been aware that Dungeons and Dragons is a thing.
Yeah.
And Pathfinder's a thing. Yeah. But Cyberpunk, I don't think got big for our generation.
Cyberpunk 2020, I was aware existed.
Yeah, because we love Cyberpunk.
But as Callum was saying, like, in terms of going to the shop and getting a D&D pack, that's easy.
We can go to Zing, our local Zing store sells D&D supplements.
But as you're saying, Cyberpunk isn't really, at least not in Australia that we know of, isn't really as
look, I'm sure you could get it, but you might have to drive to a niche store to buy it. Like it's not, you don't just go to your regular nerd shop and pick up your copy of Cyberpunk 2020.
And it says regular nerd shop like there's one around every corner.
Exactly.
And because it's a pen and paper RPG, there's not because like it has a lot of lore. Like the Cyberpunk world has a lot of lore.
Yeah.
And a lot of guidebooks and so on.
It's not accessible,
but
as some other franchises.
What's interesting is Cyberpunk 2077, which CD Projekt, the game developers, are making into this big open world, dense game. They're building upon that.
Yeah,
pre-established. So it's not the same, but it's kind of like making The Witcher based on the books, or making Game of Thrones based on the books, or making Lord of the Rings based on the books. They have a lot of world and lore already there, and now they're just building on top of that.
I guarantee you they would have had access to everything.
Oh yeah. So the good thing about this game is we found out before the show that before we started recording the podcast that if you buy any edition of the game, you get the source book for Cyberpunk included, which is so good for the original.
Digitally or
digitally, PDF.
Yeah.
Which, for context, I'm pretty sure they teamed up with the one dude behind the original Cyberpunk materials.
Yeah, no, the guy who made it. Yeah.
For that poor guy who I'm assuming his properties never really reached the audience it should have. For him to suddenly be in vogue again when this game comes out.
And
like to think that people, if let's just say we made a game like that, to think that 30 years after the fact, people are suddenly going to be starting up their own Cyberpunk games again,
and for
that's
him,
wonderful.
Yeah, and for him to be involved,
it's
like
wonderful.
George Martin was involved in the first few seasons of Game of Thrones, or like it's that kind of. You've got the canon keeper there. You've got the
it's good.
You've
It's
got the
good for
mind.
him.
Yeah,
it's good for him and it's good for them.
Yeah.
Now, is he going to learn the lessons that the author of the
he
Witcher
did.
books?
Yeah, no. He's no. So
well, he was smart. He was like, "I'm going to work with you guys.
Yeah,
I'm
he's
not
been
going
very. Apparently, it's been very
But-
hands-on relationship.
I wrote this down because like it's so impressive and it's CD Projekt Red in a nutshell. So the game releases on April 16, 2020, which is pretty soon. It's like not that. It's a year. But we were talking last week about how this game could be in development for another 2 years, 3, and it's like that wouldn't really be unusual,
so anyone
or people wouldn't really be upset. But so it's pretty soon, and we've got a date now. But on top of that, the standard edition, much like with the Witcher standard edition, so the normally when you buy a game, you get the case and the game. Here you go home. Good luck. Now with The Witcher, so CD Projekt games,
all their games,
and pretty much all their games, and now Cyberpunk 2077, the standard edition comes with a physical map, postcards, stickers, a physical compendium of the 2077 world, plus digital art booklet, a digital Cyberpunk 2020 tabletop guidebook. And digital wallpapers and the soundtrack downloads.
So cool.
All that for your normal, just in the box.
And that'll put maybe in Australian pricing, like what, $80?
89 on JB's website
it's
right
$89.
now. Yeah.
Which I am so happy because there's a lot of games on Steam where I'll look at the I'll say Steam, like any online game retailer, and it's like $89, and I'll be like, okay, that's expensive for a game, but okay. This one, I looked at the page for it, and I saw 89, and I was like, wow.
Usually,
that's really cheap because I was expecting to see something like 100, 110,
so like
$120.
in any other game, that's like the deluxe edition or like the collector's edition.
But also keep in mind, you might even be able to get it cheaper on launch day.
Yeah,
that's true.
That's the thing. Is like
places,
most games, I won't pay more than $89 is probably the max I'll pay for any normal.
A CD Projekt game is you'll pay what it costs.
But I would for this edition, I would pay 100 or 110 or 120.
Yeah.
But because it's CD Projekt Red, and like we said, they're god level of game developers, they're like, no, this is just a standard edition, $89. Like here, like you get all this stuff.
So that's how you do business. Because then if they, I'm not sure if they're going to or not, but if they release a collector's edition for
they have
100.
Well, this is the thing: is that with CD Projekt Red, they release the standard edition and the collector's edition.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So if they're releasing the collector's edition, there are so many people that are going to go for that just because they're going to get all that stuff
just
that
to
is in the
support
standard
the
edition, just as and
to support
and they
CD
can do a lot of this because they
developer,
do a lot of self-publishing.
Yeah,
they have a lot more control over their product. To a large extent,
that's another thing as well because you get companies like EA and Ubisoft and Bethesda and that sort of stuff. Like they're saying, you need to release this game this quickly.
That's the other thing. There's that faceless mega corporation aspect
which
to
they
a lot
don't
of
have
video
behind
game
them, pushing them to release.
With
so
CD
quickly.
Projekt Red, the guy who does the PR is also like the guy who runs a company and works on the games.
So they have a situation where it's like. Yeah, they might only release a game every 7 or 8 years, but all the nerds will go out and buy it.
Yeah.
And not to mention, they'll have sustained sales.
Yeah,
they've probably
the fan
earned
loyalty
is immense.
Yeah,
they've probably earned a chunk of their development cost in pre-orders already. Let's be honest.
Definitely.
But like the good thing about CD Projekt is that as you said, like when Bethesda did their conference, they're talking about how we're going to have extra updates out as soon as possible, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But the fact that CD Projekt takes as long as it needs to make a game, you don't stress out the dev team because it's like it's done when it's done. There's none of that Rockstar bullshit where people get pushed to breaking point trying to get out the game because the shareholders are getting pissed off.
It's quality over quantity, and also like it doesn't have that factory sort of
factory
churning
farm.
it out.
That's a loop that feeds back in and of itself. If you don't stress out the development team,
they do better work.
They do better work, and if they do better work, like if they're not stressed, they're doing it quicker, which so it feeds back in and of itself. So if you're not having this giant mega corporation, as you said earlier, pushing you to release a game quickly, they can release it quicker.
Yeah, you end up doing a better. Yeah, if the morale is higher, you end up doing a better job than if you were under the fist, under the foot of.
Even if it doesn't get done quicker, right? As long as if you make a good product, there'll be less bugs. It won't look as rushed. They might fix problems. Like we all play games. We all know that some games come shipped with game-breaking problems.
Oh yeah,
Bethesda or anyone.
Yeah,
that's an excellent point. Like with The Witcher, I can't remember. I never played like The Witcher games on release, but I don't remember seeing any articles about how terrible CD Projekt. Yeah. You know, no one was sitting there screaming CD Projekt sucks into the void.
Exactly. Like there's a level of polish and dedication to making the game.
Polish
and a level
doesn't
of
even describe it.
Polish. There's a level of polish to the CD Projekt games that. It's like when you get the product, you might have to wait for it, but you know it's going to be good. And there's that.
They should come with ethically sourced stickers, you know, like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Like made in Australia stickers.
No developers were harmed in the making of this product.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like CD Projekt. Yeah, is like the poster boy for like wholesome like. Yeah, like
they're breathtaking.
They're breathtaking. Yeah, like they
adult
breathtaking
fantasy games.
Yeah, but like in terms of their work ethic and their fan interactions and their presentation of their company and the way they communicate with fans, like they're just like the best.
Yeah,
and that's why people love them, and that'll in turn bring them a big success instead of just being like we're EA, we're going to make the same game every year and we're going to
ruin Star Wars.
Yeah, it's like we're going to have slaves, like literally unpaid people churning out the same crap in mobile games and all this other stuff, and then fans will turn on that pretty quick.
Yeah,
I think they already have.
Well,
EA's E3 presentation was the weakest by far as well. Coincidence? I don't know.
Bethesda's was kind of a bit weaker than last year's, but
I didn't mind Bethesda's.
Bethesda's was okay. It was better than I expected it to be.
Was Doom in Bethesda?
Doom Eternal was,
yeah, because I'm hyped for that.
No, I mean,
but a lot of people are still sore from 76.
Yeah.
Look, this is an argument I've had actually quite a few times about 76. When it launched, I was under the impression. Have you played Rust?
Yes.
I was under the impression, and I was always under the impression, that they were just making a Rust clone as presented by Bethesda. And then people were like, where are all the NPCs? And I'm like, what do you mean?
See, I went into it just expecting a Fallout game.
Yeah, see, everyone was treating it like it's supposed to be like Fallout Online, like an MMO.
That's the thing, is that's how they advertised it. They advertised it as a Fallout game, first and foremost. Only it's online. They advertised it as Fallout Online. They did.
Yeah, I never got that though. Like I never read the advertisements that way. Like in Rust, you can detonate nukes. You can do that in Fallout 76. I saw all these parallels, and that's what they shipped was exactly what I was expecting. So when I bought the game, I'm like, this is what I thought it was going to be. I was happy enough.
Maybe they just needed to be clearer in the marketing.
But that is, be that as it may, though, I think the people's main problem with 76 was not the fact that it was devoid of any NPCs, because I would consider that a bad thing, but the fact that it was riddled with game-breaking bugs, like not just one or two.
Oh yeah, no,
there was a lot of connection problems.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
There was people falling through the maps. There was one guy, I think, who got stuck being invincible.
Yeah, no, I remember. Yeah, no. I'm talking about just the way the game was made, like designed, like the actual kind of like the gameplay elements.
If it had come out not so game-breakingly bad, I think it would have done okay. Maybe it wouldn't have done so well as maybe Fallout 4 or Fallout 3 or but I think it would have survived. But coming out like it did, it was
you've set up an expectation for your single player games, and then you're just like, here's a weird online game.
Because so what they did, if I might get a little bit technical, is they used the same game engine as Fallout 4, and they tried to copy it across to an online format, which didn't work as they intended. So that's what actually caused a lot of the bugs.
Effectively, that's what killed Anthem too.
Yeah.
The same technical reasons.
Yeah, I mean, I never really looked into Anthem as well. I was never really interested in it. But yeah, so they tried to use the same game engine. They tried to port it over to save costs, and that's what ended up causing all of their problems.
Yeah. But from what I understand, even like Fallout 3, which is really well received, like Bethesda games
Bethesda games
have a lot of bugs.
Are known for their bugs.
Bethesda can't ship a game properly. Never.
I don't think they've ever.
And like even Fallout 3 nowadays, you go into it, there's tons of bugs.
Look,
Oblivion, like Elder Scrolls, Oblivion,
or even
Skyrim.
Skyrim.
But
any of these games, they all have bugs. But the
most
thing
of them
is,
you can overlook.
You can overlook. They're funny bugs. They're slight exploits.
Game-breaking, yeah.
Then none of them are. Well, I mean, I say
Some
none of them.
There are still some bugs where you walk in a certain room and the game just closes.
Very few of them are game breaking, and I'm pretty sure you could put all the game-breaking bugs in all of Bethesda's previous games together, and you would not have a half of the game-breaking bugs you had in 76. There was one guy who had, I think he had like his first 10 hours of gameplay, and he listed all the glitches in all the glitches and bugs. I'll say not game-breaking bugs, but all the glitches and bugs in his first 10 hours or something like that of gameplay, and the list went, I think, into the 2-hour mark.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Bethesda's having some issues right now, and I don't know where it's come from. Because up until now, they've been all right. I don't know if they're just struggling getting through Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6.
It's an industry-wide problem with like EA, Activision, and all them. It's like,
they're doing too much.
It's too like the greedy corporate mindset of like you got to churn out the online games, the multiplayer, the mobile games, just churn it out.
On exactly that note, if you look at the new Elder Scrolls game, I call it the new Elder Scrolls game.
Blades?
Correct, it's Blades.
Yeah.
That is riddled with horrendous microtransactions.
Yeah.
If they turn that into a single player game which you paid for,
Which they're putting on Switch.
which they're putting on Switch, it's still for free.
It is still for free.
If they release that as like a paid single player game, that could be a really good game. But instead, it's free to play, and you earn this game, you earn a loot chest, But you can only open one loot chest at a time, and it takes real time to open.
It takes a few hours to open, but you can speed that up by buying like crystals or something.
Yeah, and you can speed that up by
that's-
spending real money, obviously.
That's some predatory.
It's predatory. It is. And all the good stuff comes in like golden chests or something,
Which you
and they
have to pay
take
for,
hours and hours and hours to open.
I think it goes into days even.
Yeah, so you have these chests which can take days to open, and you can only open one at a time.
That's just companies turning games into gambling and turning games into like money farming, like soul-suckingly addictive. Yeah, like they're turning games into cigarettes.
Yes. So
exactly.
That's actually something that I think I might have a little bit of a controversial opinion on. I'm not sure. If not, if I do, tell me. But there is actually a right way to do microtransactions, and you guys would have heard of it before. It's the game Apex Legends. They have microtransactions in that game. It is a free-to-play game. All of the microtransactions are purely cosmetic.
Overwatch does it better because
Overwatch is fine as well.
There's a point. Isn't there a point in Apex where you can stop earning the chests and you have to buy them?
Yes, but there is that you can also unlock them in season passes.
You still have to.
But that's the thing, though. That's the thing, though. So the whole point about with those is the fact that they're all purely cosmetic.
See, Overwatch does the same thing. It's you buy the game, but the game's cheap.
Yeah,
and then all the microtransactions effectively are free because it's really easy to level up. It's really easy to level up. So you can level up in an hour.
So that's also I'll agree with you there and say that's also another way to do microtransactions well. The fact that the Apex Legends is free, and all the microtransactions are purely cosmetic, I would say is the right way to do microtransactions. But just because they are purely the only reason that you'll ever want one of the loot boxes is because because you want it.
There's also a significant addiction element to this, as James said with the gambling.
That is true.
Even with cosmetic
the only thing I don't like about the Apex system is that you get to a point where you stop earning them without paying some real money. And then eventually you'll find that you're paying more money to buy the season pass or buy the loot boxes than it would have cost to buy the game if it was a full price
So
game.
I used to play a game called Star Wars: The Old Republic, and I didn't have a subscription for that at the time, but I was buying the loot boxes, and I was at the time. This was when all I did was play the game at home. I didn't have a job. I was just like playing MMOs. You know, as many a young neckbeard has fallen prey to.
The South Park WoW guy.
Yeah, exactly. And I was paying probably double the subscription price amount in loot boxes. It was real bad.
South Park did an episode on the freemium games where it's like, yes, it's free, but then you ain't going to end up spending so much time and money on it that you might as well have paid $60 for it in the first place.
Yeah, look, I don't. As Damien said, I'm not sure if it's that controversial opinion in the studio, but loot boxes are the devil.
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons I don't play, Apex or Overwatch or any of these kind of games is I'm not interested in the online multiplayer aspect. But yeah, I don't want any of that loot boxes or microtransactions or any of the. I don't want to grind, even if I can upgrade quickly, like level up quickly. It's like I don't want to bother with that. I mean, I want to play a game that's like we talked about Death Stranding. I want to like a single player narrative, self-contained experience.
You want Kevin Costner as the postman in a video game format. I understand that.
Yeah, I mean, it speaks. Hideo Kojima speaks to me.
Oh no, he listens to the show. He understands.
Yeah. Well, it seems that CD Projekt listens to the show as well, because then Keanu is like, oh yeah, Tuesday review. You guys like Keanu? Here's Keanu in Cyberpunk.
Merry Christmas, boys.
Yeah. They give us what we want. But yeah, I mean, I guess we forgot to mention, but I guess it doesn't matter now, but Keanu's playing Johnny Silverhand, who is a big kind of character.
NPC.
Yeah, a big character in the original Cyberpunk 2020 pen and paper RPG tabletop game.
We still don't know 100% if he's not going to be a playable character, because I know that the main playable character is not going to be Keanu Reeves, but in The Witcher 3 there was another playable character, and we don't know for sure if there's going to be another
maybe
section.
That's the DLC. One of the
DLCs. Because there could be a section where it's playable.
Oh man, that's how you sell an expansion pack.
Oh man,
play as Keanu Reeves.
Because there could be a section where it's playable.
Yeah,
we don't know.
Yeah, that's true. But anyway, yeah, like if Keanu was in the game, that's one thing. But yeah, like we said, it's the match made in heaven with CD Projekt. But he's playing like one of the biggest kind of lore characters of the RPG, the original tabletop game. So yeah, people are excited about that.
Like they even know what Cyberpunk is.
Well, like we said, there's a lot of bandwagoners who just like, oh yeah, I love Cyberpunk, the tabletop game.
They hadn't heard of it a week before.
Yeah, that's always the case. Well, I just want to mention one game. I mean, Doom Eternal we just mentioned, which I'm really hyped for. I think that looks great.
Which has a really awesome looking collector's edition.
Comes with the helmet. Oh man, don't tempt me.
Is it better than the Death Stranding collector's edition?
You get
which comes with a baby.
I want that BB.
Yeah, but that's kind of like I don't want that on my. That's kind of like the Rage collector's edition, the Rage 2 collector's edition. I don't want that sitting on my mantle. That's freaky.
See, but I said like last week. I said it's disgusting. It's too big. I have nowhere to put it, and I want one. Like it's just I need to have it. Yeah. But the Cyberpunk 2077 collector's edition, it's like $450. It's insane.
I haven't actually seen it yet. What does
it come with?
It
comes with like a crate, like a yellow, like industrial sci-fi looking crate, and then you open the crate and it's got a statue of the main character crashing his like Akira futuristic motorcycle into a bad guy, like shooting two pistols.
So because the main character of Cyberpunk is male or female,
yeah,
right?
you can choose.
So do you get to choose a statue?
Male, as far as I know, it's only the male character statue.
Because that'd be an interesting way to do it. Like when you get your collector's edition, you get a choice. You get a choice of two collector's edition, one with a male, one with a female.
That would be.
Oh no, just have the head of the figure comes off, so you can switch.
But the body would be different.
Yeah, depends if it's wearing armor.
No,
but like that'd be interesting. Like they have 50% male, female.
But yeah, no, I think that would be the best way.
Does it come with a physical copy of the source book?
That'd be interesting.
I don't think so.
Callum's like, I better start putting away my money.
It does, you know how because CD Projekt Red, it's like, yeah, they're giving us everything in the standard edition, but I would be happy to pay for the collector's edition, but it's 400 is too much, and that statue I don't really want, but it's a great statue. Like when CD Projekt releases the collector's edition with the statue is always top quality. Yeah. Most collector's editions, you get the
little plastic things.
You get the
bent plastic.
You get
crap.
the in quotes canvas bag.
Oh yeah, the duffel bag.
Don't even get me started on that.
You know who does collector's editions really well as well? Square Enix.
Okay.
Their statues, what they call play arts.
Yeah.
They sell for like $200 a pop. They're included in like all the collector's editions.
Yeah.
They're also really high quality like statues.
Ubisoft suck. I got the collector's edition for one of the Assassin's Creed games.
They cheap out.
And I got a quote unquote statue, and it was like
little plastic,
4 or 5 inches big.
I would
and
agree
like
with
plastic.
you. Yeah, with that, because I got the collector's edition of the first Watch Dogs.
Yeah.
And it came with actually I can't remember if it was a collection. I got the Vigilante edition, and it came with the mask, the cap, and they were they kind of like
just cheap.
Yeah. They were cheap. Like the mask actually was okay feeling. The cap was a little bit cheap feeling.
That's another reason why CD Projekt's so great. It's like, we're going to give you the standard edition, which has got everything in it and it's well above.
In any other company, that'd be the collector's edition.
Exactly. And then
that'd be the mid-range edition. The collector's edition would be another tier above that.
And then that's the thing is like CD Projekt Red has the standard edition, which is completely better than any other normal edition in most circumstances. Then they have the collector's edition, which is extremely expensive, but has a lot of quality and a lot of content in it.
And you don't get any extra bullshit. Like, the standard edition and the collector's edition come with the same game.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't get extra DLC for
and also
$400
and that's the other thing. You also... Everything in the standard edition you get in the collector's edition plus more. There's no tricky thing where it's like you have to buy both to get the complete.
Ubisoft has done that, and like a lot of the companies do it. Where if I buy the collector's edition, I'll get an extra mission that nobody else gets.
Ubisoft and EA have done that.
Yeah, that's my ultimate point. It's just the two. Sorry, Callum. It's just the two. Most companies, Ubisoft and
it's 5 different
Bethesda,
editions.
It's like 5 different, and then there's like. Store exclusive editions that if you buy it from this place, they'll give you this.
Yeah, no,
but if you buy it from this place, you get something else.
Console exclusives.
And it's that predatory thing that we're talking about. That greedy corporate mindset of like
it preys on completionist people.
We have to get
multiple copies of the same
whereas
game.
CD Projekt Red is like you got the standard edition, which is well above what you'd get most of the time. Then the collector's edition, that's it.
The only circumstance I'll accept like exclusives from a business perspective, I can understand them offering you like an extra whatever for a pre-order, not for like pre-ordering the collectors or whatever. Just let me finish. Like take for example Final Fantasy VII Remake. If you pre-order it, they're gonna give you 2 extra items, but that doesn't like you get those items if you pre-order the standard edition or the collectors. I can kind of understand that just if they want to get people to from a business perspective, not necessarily from a consumer perspective. I don't think it's that evil to offer just extra couple of items for pre-ordering because frankly I've bought day one games from JB Hi-Fi and I still get the pre-orders anyway. The pre-order items anyway.
I would agree with that. Like I agree with that.
Like it's not saying like you don't get free DLC if you buy the collector's edition that you don't get in the standard. It's just extra stuff they chuck in for pre-ordering as a show of good faith, I guess.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that, yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not perfect. As a consumer, it's still kind of annoying that I have to find X amount of money now when the game comes out midway through next year.
Yeah.
But that being said, if it's still a pre-order, I might still be able to pre-order it for extras next year.
And you can just put $10 down.
Yeah, that's also... Like, you only need to put $10 down to secure a pre-order.
That's if you do it an in-store.
Yeah.
Because on most online retailers, you have to put the whole thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, because sometimes they sell out quickly, so you have to do it online, and then you don't...
Yeah.
But it's just funny because I got an email while we were talking from EB for Watch Dogs Legion, the new one, and it's got the standard edition, the Resistance edition, the Ultimate edition, and the Gold edition also available. And I'm just like,
That's 4 editions.
It's 4, and then there's just in Australia, like you can imagine, the North American edition is probably more stuff. And
would you want to? And some people will be like, "I got to import that."
Yeah, exactly. And then there's also the Resistant figurine sold separately. Like it's just like. Ubisoft's the worst. Like
it's dirty. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's dirty business practices.
Yeah.
And I don't know what edition of that game I'll get, but it's probably not going to be the most expensive.
Well, that game looks interesting, but I'm not 100% sold. I'm going to wait for the reviews on it.
Spoiler alert, I'm buying the standard edition. I don't care what other shit you want to throw at me.
I'm buying it second hand. I'm not giving you any money.
I'm going to be honest. I like Watch Dogs as much as the next guy, but I don't like it that much. I'm buying the standard edition. I just want to play the game.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is with that, though, is they always release the pre-order pack like a couple months down the line anyway. So like you'll get all the you buy the standard edition, and then 2-3 months down the line they'll say they'll release the pre-order pack. So you get what all these people got with the pre-orders 3 months ago for $5.95 or something.
That's actually Square Enix did that with Final Fantasy 15. They released a whole bunch of stuff that you got with the collector's edition for free, and then the rest of the stuff you could pay a small price to upgrade. As long as that content is available for everyone. I can kind of get behind it.
Yeah.
Even if the people who did pay extra up front get that before everyone else, that's understandable.
Yeah.
But as long as I can pay $5 to get me some of that sweet DLC skin.
There is a level of collecting, I want the exclusive figure that there's only going to be sold that one time. But yeah, I think it's fair for a lot of stuff.
For in-game content.
That's what I like about the Cyberpunk Collector's Edition is, yes, it has all this stuff, but really the only thing I'm interested in from the Collector's Edition is I think it comes with a physical hardcover art book.
Yeah.
Which I'm going to assume they're going to sell that separately, just like they sell most games' art books on their own. So if I get the standard edition, which again is packed full of stuff, then just buy the book off the shelf, when it comes out, which I'm sure it will on its own, then I've got the version of the game I want. And, I don't have to worry about the statue and the case and all the other stickers and stuff that I don't really want. Because you end up paying for all that stuff that you don't really want, and
you end up chucking most of it away.
Yeah, it ends up the one special edition I got, all the stuff it just ended up under my bed, and I never looked at it again. It's just crap most of the time. But that BB, man, I want that.
Look, I would spend as much money as needed if the Cyberpunk Collector's Edition came with a hardcover copy of the Cyberpunk 2020 source book. Then I would, to quote Seinfeld, I'd pay what it costs.
Yeah.
But it doesn't. So to be honest, I'm not willing to drop $4.50 for an art book.
No.
As much as you said, hopefully we'll be able to buy the art book separately.
And that's the art book of the prototypes of the what do you call it, of the game.
And same with the soundtrack.
The pre-production.
You'll probably be able to buy that separately at a later.
You'll be able to stream that on your streaming services anyway.
They should have released it on vinyl or something really cool.
Yeah, that's classy.
That'd be cool for a collector's edition.
Yeah.
Something classy like a vinyl, something physical that you can play.
Yeah, like a
coloured digital
vinyl
download code.
Yeah, like a red or pink vinyl.
Or even if they give you they've got the normal statue like a 5 or 6 inch like a metal replica arm or something like that.
Yeah, that would be cool. Johnny Silverhand's silver hand.
Or if you want to go retro,
CD Projekt Red, send us an email.
If they want to go retro, you'd have the soundtrack on a cassette tape.
Yeah, that would be cool. You know what they should do? They should release the Cyberpunk 2020 guidebook, the RPG guidebook, and then with the cassette tape. There's full 80s pack, Cyberpunk 80s honestly, retro pack.
I'm kind of surprised they didn't include the source book physically with the collector's edition, because they obviously have the rights to publish it electronically.
They might decide to, because they've got a year until release.
That's true. Details could change.
We were talking before recording the show of how Cyberpunk 2020, the tabletop game, doesn't seem to be that popular here in Australia, at least. Or it doesn't seem to be...
At least not for our generation.
The guidebooks and the updated versions and the several guidebooks that came out over the years...
It seems to fizzle out.
Don't seem to be available in normal stores. You can find them on eBay and stuff, but it's interesting that they don't seem to have re-released, like D&D, they don't seem to have re-released
Maybe they're planning... Maybe CD Projekt's planning to re-release them after the game.
That's what I'm hoping that...
I'm kind of surprised companies like Zing haven't sort of been a bit proactive
capitalized on
this.
Yeah, but it could be a rights issue.
It's publishing. It's whoever the publisher owns the rights. But that's why I'm hoping that the buzz generated by the video game will
start generating sales of the actual.
Yeah, so hopefully they'll
revised
re-release.
version?
Yeah, re-release the
I reckon,
revised.
you know what they could start doing, because I reckon because these books, they come with artwork on the front, yeah.
Yeah.
So I reckon they might have so they'll generate all this buzz with the video game, and then they'll release a new edition with artwork from the video game.
Yeah,
That'll be Keanu Reeves on
like
the front
a tie-in,
cover.
like a
Keanu Reeves on the front of it.
the classic movie tie-in version.
That would be great, but also I want the kind of 80s artwork.
Yeah, see, that's the
version.
problem.
I want
Now
the
a major video game.
Yeah, I want the retro. I want the retro version with the kind of old,
Yeah, the 80s
cyberpunk aesthetic.
Well, because they
yeah.
could even make it with like a replaceable cover or something like that.
But I mean, like the illustrations inside as well.
Yeah,
like
it
you
has
could-
to be-
yeah,
yeah.
that's true.
They could be
that's
two
true.
editions.
Like, they could just be, I just want the actual original, or almost up to date,
Yeah.
2020 source code.
Yeah.
Maybe with a fancy new
Source
cover or
guide,
whatever. Source code, yeah.
Yeah. Guide.
Source materials.
Yeah.
Source code.
Yeah, no,
Source book.
Yeah, because I want to get more into the lore and the background of it all.
They could even chucked in some really cool dice. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
I mean, but this is getting too far away from the actual video game.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. But
Just dice with
like-
different numbers of Keanu Reeves' face on it.
different
Or just like-
expressions.
Like a magic 8-ball that only says you're breathtaking.
You're breathtaking. No, yeah, each roll of the D20, it just says you're breathtaking on each side. But I would like to get into that lore, and it's a shame that it doesn't seem like the original 2020 tabletop guidebooks are really available. And
I
it'd be
think
cool if
wait for the game's release. And
Yeah.
I think it might start getting.
that would be great if the game generates enough buzz that the publisher re-releases it, or whoever owns the rights. Or
I'm hoping CD Projekt owns the rights. I'm hoping it was one of those things where CD Projekt's like, look, dude, because I don't know the backstory, but I'm hoping that the guy who wrote the books owned the rights to the
well,
books.
considering they're working with that guy,
And CD Projekt would have been just like, look, how much money do you want? We can make this work. So we'll see what happens.
Well,
Yeah.
because they
obviously have the rights to distribute the electronic version. So
yeah, that's true.
Like, look, it's a case of, it's like, you know what, your game is popular, maybe still popular in niche circles, we can make you a fuckload of money.
Yeah, definitely.
what were you going to say,
Yeah,
Damien?
well, I was gonna say if people listening aren't aware of what happened with the Witcher series, the original author of the book.
We talked about it
I said you did
last
talk
week or
about
the week
it.
before.
Yeah, but we've talked
Yeah,
about
The salt rivers.
The salt.
Yeah, so basically he agreed to a sum of money.
He took
Because he thought the games would fail.
Because he thought the games
He took a
would
fee
fail.
up front instead of a percentage
Instead
of
of a percentage of
games.
sales.
Yeah.
And it turned out the percentage was worth a buttload more
Yeah.
than the amount
Big
that he took.
oopsie.
And instead of owning up to his mistake, he got salty and
He
started
got salty
talking
and
shit about the game.
He tried to sue.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
he
what a
tried to sue.
crybaby.
So I'm thinking that the gentleman that made this tabletop game would have
Yeah.
probably learned from
Learn from
from
history.
that,
apparently-
from
like we
history.
said, yeah.
Apparently he
and
was
he would have
happy.
taken
Yeah.
a percentage deal.
Like we said,
Because this game is going to make like
This game is going to make a
But like we said, it's
Yeah.
good that he's involved with it, and he seems to be happy to be involved in the making of the game
in the
alongside
deal,
CD
he
Projekt.
probably would have had a clause
Yeah.
saying that he has at least some
Yeah.
creative control over what the final product looks like.
You know,
Maybe.
I
yeah.
foresee this game making more money than The Witcher 3.
I would agree with you.
I would agree.
Because it's more approachable to a mainstream audience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
The
because
Witcher
this
is
is the
fantasy. It's considered more nerdy. This is science fiction. It's more
Yeah,
action
it's a first-person
orientated.
shooter,
It's a
so
first-person
get
I was
some
gonna
of the
say,
COD
this is
crowd,
actually the
yeah.
first of the franchise. There's no there's no
Yeah.
to someone
Yeah.
that's coming in from a gaming
Yeah.
background.
Actually,
there's
no, it's the 2077th of the
yeah, just like
No, but
76 is the
there's
76.
No, yeah,
Yeah.
There's no 3 next to the
But
Witcher.
there's no
so yeah.
baggage.
Yeah.
There's no and
And-
the gameplay lends itself
Yeah.
to more towards a mainstream.
I was
audience.
talking with Damien earlier today about how, like, if you want to play Metal Gear Solid 5, you kind of have to go back, you don't have to, but to get caught up on the whole series, you have to go back to the PS1 era. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a bigger leap.
If you're a story aficionado, you even really have to go towards the PSP, the
Exactly.
PS Vita.
So there's a lot of work and money and time involved into getting everything. It's the same, like Witcher, you have to go back to the first game, which is quite old now, and getting you don't have to.
It feels a bit dated, actually.
Like
it's not aging
dated.
as well as
yeah.
Two still holds up.
Like 3 you can play on its own, like you don't have to know. But if you really want to, whereas like Death Stranding and Cyberpunk 2077 is like, this is the first game, it's current gen. And then if you
you're not
play
going to
this
understand
one,
Death Stranding.
Oh no, you'll never understand.
That's not because I'm missing out on.
That's not because you're
previous
missing out on
materials.
anything. Yeah.
Exactly. But if you played Metal Gear Solid 5 and you're like, what the hell's going on? And you have to go back to the PS1. Whereas if you play Death Stranding, don't have any idea what's going on.
Then when Death Stranding,
then when Death Stranding 2 comes out, you're like, well, I've already played the first one. Now you can sort of, if you get in now, you're set. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think this game will do well. I reckon it'll do much.
Cyberpunk
I can do better than The Witcher.
As far as CD Projekt goes, they're also very approachable in terms of finance. Like, if you look at the Witcher games, they're actually pretty. At least 1 and 2 are actually very cheap right now. They've been cheap for years. So at least with let's just say down the line, you want to decide you want to play you picked up The Witcher 3, you want to play the other ones.
Yeah,
they're quite cheap. You can get Game of the Year bundles.
Yeah, well, the Witcher 3 with all the DLC and expansions, that's really cheap.
The thing is, with The Witcher 3, I'm almost ashamed to admit that I actually didn't play The Witcher 3 until about 2017.
I still haven't played it.
So I've only played it
that's the thing, though.
I've only played it for like an hour.
Yeah, so because I pumped like 150 hours into it, so I've actually finished most of it, except for one of the DLCs. I'm halfway through.
I'm from the other angle. So I've finished 1 and 2. 3 was too daunting.
So that's the thing, though. So I actually,
I'm hoping Cyberpunk doesn't have that daunting problem that we were talking about last week.
So I actually bought The Witcher 3 in 2016, and I played about an hour of it, and I couldn't get into it. So because it was really daunting, because they had 1 and 2,
the big map.
I didn't know what was going on. So I played about an hour and a half of it, and I stopped, and I didn't touch it for about a year and a half. I started again because I didn't know what else I wanted to play. So I started again maybe mid-2017, and that was when I really got into it. And then I pumped like 150, 160 hours into it with the DLC and everything. And I feel like someone that would try a game out once, because I'm generally someone that will try a game out once, and then maybe try it out again a year or two down the line. I feel like someone that's going to try a game out once and then blacklist it is not going to get in. Is maybe going to because that was when on the Steam platform at least you didn't have refunds.
Yeah.
So on the Steam platform at least now you have refunds. So I feel like at that point now I would have played it and I would have just refunded it.
You also that also leads to an interesting point. Cyberpunk. It looks like a first-person shooter, but it's a hardcore RPG. Yeah. So how many people are going to buy this game?
Yeah.
And then they're going to be like, "Wait a second, it's not what I thought it was."
Call of Duty.
It's like
this is not Call of Duty.
I feel like
I've made a huge mistake.
It's like Deus Ex on steroids.
To like Deus Ex.
Yeah, it's like that on steroids.
I was talking to James about when we were talking about it the other week. I'm like, he's worried about the sort of the daunting aspect of it. Whereas if you look at The Witcher 3, it's almost. It's not the right descriptor, but a horizontal sort of progression. There's a big open map you can explore. Whereas Deus Ex is almost more vertical. Smaller map, but there's more sort of like buildings you can climb up.
Same deal with Cyberpunk.
Sort of like the maps are smaller, but there's more density.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that's what Cyberpunk's going to have.
I hope so, yeah.
Which is a bit easier to take.
And they did say that. They did say that Cyberpunk's is different because you travel up vertically as much as you go horizontally.
Yeah. And I hope, like we were talking about last week, that it has a focused kind of not just narrative, but like you feel like you're always working towards a goal. And never really, you don't get into these repetitive side quests that lead you on goose chases.
I'm just interested in how many people are going to buy the game expecting a Call of Duty action experience
and then return.
And are going to be very disappointed when they find out it's actually a really nerdy game.
Yeah.
I think that further trailers down the line, further gameplay trailers down the line will reveal that to people. Like, I don't think CD Projekt's trying to surprise people. No. So I think that further closer to release, when more articles come out, more people get to demo it.
But there's also a certain... sorry, Callum. There's also a certain portion of the population who will just see guns shooting and be like, cool.
Well, guns are still going to be shooting. You'll still be rootin' tootin'.
Yeah,
but there might be
that's true.
modifications involved as well.
Yeah, but those people are like, as you were saying, those people aren't going to be expecting, giant dialogue trees, choices of what to say.
Maxing.
Yeah, so like trying to pick, which stat
Like,
you want to level up, and
This is a game where it's like if you're shooting a gun that you can't use properly, you're going to be doing no damage.
yeah.
Really?
Well,
we don't know exactly.
We don't only
yeah.
speculate. But there's stats
Like the
involved.
base.
Well, if they're keeping it true to the tabletop game, it's going to be very interesting.
I feel like because of CD Projekt and how well their games are designed, and because of it's a current gen console and PC cross-platform game, first person shooter mechanics aren't going to feel clunky like they do in some other RPG first-person games.
I think regardless of how people feel about RPGs, if it's a good game, it's a good game.
Like I feel like the shooting and running and jumping and blowing stuff up is going to be as action-packed and energetic and easy to pick up as Call of Duty.
Yeah.
But then you've got the added skill trees and upgrades of the RPG
As long
side.
as it's done in is introduced in a gentle enough way. People, if people put it down and get refunds because it's got some nerdy shit in it, I think they need to grow up.
Yeah, I think that's. I don't think anyone buying this game.
Yeah, exactly. If you're buying it because it's a CD Projekt game, chances are you're nerdy as fuck anyway.
You know what you're getting into, but I think the casual gamers might check it out. But I don't think there's anyone going to be really salty about it.
Yeah, exactly.
I also think there's going to be backlash because there's going to be an R rating.
Oh, yeah,
I also think there's going to be a lot of kids playing this game.
Okay, in that case, like if what you're saying is true, then there's going to be backlash either way.
There's going to be
because if it is an R
we'll
rating,
love it.
Yeah, no,
but there's going to be a lot of I don't want my kid playing this dirty game.
So in
that's
that
always
case,
the
in that
case.
case, yes, there will be backlash. But if it isn't an R rating,
Oh no, then we'll be upset.
then we'll be upset.
Yeah. No, well, they've already shown in the trailers enough stuff to get it. Has it been banned?
will it be released here?
Has it been banned in Australia?
We'll import it.
Jokes on us, we'll have to import it.
Yeah. Oh god. Then the DLC
That's right. We'll
codes
all
won't
make
work,
a pact here now. If it's
digital.
banned from Australia, we'll all move to America or something.
No, not Canada.
Yeah, I was gonna say Canada.
Canada, yeah.
I think we're a little too left for America.
Besides, honestly, they'll have it on GOG anyway. Even if it's not released here, you'll probably.
CD Projekt will be like, look, we'll break some laws to sell
yeah.
our game.
Yeah.
It's like we're not spending 7 years developing this, not to release it in the market.
Yeah.
I think we're way out of time.
Oh, definitely. We didn't even get to mention all the other games seen at E3, but we got to the most important one.
Look, this was the one we had to talk
The
about.
only one I want to mention is I'm really hyped for Age of Empires 2, the definitive edition.
I'm really hyped.
You know what? People
Wait, are you joking? Did they announce that?
I don't joke. I'm so hyped.
Yeah,
Yes.
that is the best.
Yeah.
Not bad.
It's got all the DLC plus new campaign and new...
That was
what do you call
previously
it?
available
World
on the
and-
Windows Store only.
Yeah.
and new what do you call it? Like people.
Yeah, and now they're releasing it elsewhere.
Yeah.
That's it.
How are they releasing it? What?
PC,
Steam,
and Xbox.
Because Microsoft's
Game
getting a
Pass.
bit. Microsoft's buddy with Steam now because
Yeah.
they both don't like the Epic Store.
They're releasing Halo on Steam.
Yeah. No, Microsoft picked a side.
Yeah.
And that's good.
I'm happy
bad.
that they picked Steam because I hate
Yeah.
Epic Store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's wrap up. We'll all go around and say what games. Where I know Damien has his game that he's excited for. So go ahead.
Bloodlines 2.
Looks good.
I'm really happy for that one.
Final Fantasy VII Remake and Final Fantasy VIII Remaster.
Nathan.
oh
you got
man,
any?
I don't know.
There were some good ones on there.
There were some good ones. I'm gonna say.
Bloodlines as well.
Nah, look.
Watch Dogs, you said
yeah,
you
Watch
liked?
Dogs Legion is probably the one that I am excited for at the
Destroy
moment.
All
but
Humans remake.
Destroy All Humans as
Oh.
well.
Thing is-
Yes.
It hasn't finished yet. We still got Nintendo tomorrow.
Oh,
Ask me next week.
Next week we'll do another
Yeah.
little E3
James?
roundup. So thanks everyone for listening.
What's your game?
Yeah, that's.
That's Age of Empires 2.
Age of Empires 2, yeah. I mean, Cyberpunk
and
really-
Doom.
And
He's looking
Doom
forward to
Eternal I'm hyped for. Like and share the Tuesday Review Facebook page. Follow us on Twitter at Tuesday Review AU. Follow my Instagram at Channel Drifter. I post every time I watch a movie, so you can see all the movies that I don't get to talk about on the show. You can find our previous episodes on your favorite podcasting app. If you like video games, like we've been talking about, check out Callum and Jake's show, Sunrise Arcade. And Matty J, our good friend, has his show Car Talk, TORQUE. You can find both their podcasts. Just Google it. You can find it on any of your podcasting apps. Make sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the Tuesday Review on iTunes. It'll help us reach a wider audience. Thank you all again.
And thank you, Damien.
Yeah, thank you very much, Damien, for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
To our audience, you're breathtaking.
You're all breathtaking.
You're all breathtaking. Thanks, everyone.
All two of you.
Adios, cousins.